Greetings, and blessings to everyone. Hold on just a second. I'm going to be going live on the Zoom, so just bear with me just a second here as I get over to the Zoom. We're going to be going live Zoom. I just want to say greetings to everybody who's on right now. Yes, indeed. We're going to be talking about Sufi Freemasonry. And I think that's interesting. That's interesting. It's something that we have discussed on here before, but with these details is going to be totally awesome. So, greetings everybody. Hope that you enjoyed your day, and we are going to get started with the Zoom. Also with brothers who are there. You go. Appreciate it. I'm admitting everybody. If you're on Zoom, I'm admitting everyone that's coming on the Zoom. Greetings, Brother Vaughn. How's it going today? There you go. I'm admitting everybody that's coming on the Zoom today. So granted, greetings to you. Let me do this real quick. Make this call real quick. Let's see. I'm going to close this up. You all right? How's everybody doing, Brother Vaughn? How you doing? You doing okay, Brother Vaughn? Hello?
Peace, brother. Peace.
Peace.
All right.
Greetings. Hello?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can. I'm going to give you another number you can call in real quick.
I'm going to put it in my earpiece.
I could put you on the speaker. You want to take this number down? You want me to text it over to you? Oh, you can, as a matter of fact, if you're on Zoom, you can stay on the Zoom. I already got you on Zoom. Oh, okay. Let me see what's happening here. Boom. Admit all. There you go. You should be coming up. Okay, you're good. Okay, I see Brother Morpheus joining. Okay, I see you joining. All right, come on in. And you can get off this line right here. Come on in. Greetings, my brother. Greetings.
Greetings, brother Tony. Thanks for having me.
Yes, it's a pleasure to have you, man. I'm going to allow you to introduce yourself in just a second here. However, for those of you who don't know, yes, there's such a thing as Sufi. Did I say that correctly? Freemasonry. Yes, indeed. And this is going to be an interesting topic. I'm pretty excited. As you can see, I got this big smile on my face, man. You have no idea. After I watched you on another show, you broke it down. I just said I had to have you to come on and do the same here because a lot of people don't know. I mean, they've probably never heard of it. And although in my extensive travel, although I've done my thing, I'm still exploring. I'm still finding out the many different aspects there are to Freemasonry around the world. So what you get here in the United States is not necessarily what you're going to get somewhere else. And there are some mainstays which are generally passed along from what I'm gathering in my own travels. Now, you may want to expand on that. But look, without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and let you do your thing. You can introduce yourself to everybody who's on right now.
Yes, sir. Do I see you, brother Tony? Yes, your video is off.
Oh, no. You see the John G. Jones one? John G. Jones, that's me. My camera's off because I'm live on YouTube.
Got it.
Yeah. So if you can do a YouTube, that's fine. I mean, I don't know if you're able to do that or not.
No, I'm just gonna go along with this. All right. So my name is Salman Sheikh. Thank you so much for having me. My thanks to Brother Tony for reaching out to me and allowing me to be on this platform to share the teachings of Islam, Sufism, and Freemasonry and how they correlate with one another, because we often get that story that everything originated with Freemasonry in England in 1717. So we always get the 1717 origin story. But what we know as Freemasonry and its practices and its customs has been practiced way back, many hundreds of thousands of years, by our ancient Moorish ancestors, Islamic ancestors, those in the Near East, Africa, Asia. And that's why you're taught to look towards the East, because that's where the knowledge is. So before getting into the presentation, I would like to say I represent myself only. I represent no grand lot statements or opinion. And over here, interacting with Brother Tony on this platform, I'm not violating anything in my jurisdiction. So I don't want, anybody that's out there, what we know as the Masonic police, I don't want to give them any ammunition. So without further ado, I have this presentation for you all. I'll do the screen share.
Hold on, I'm going to give you, let me see. As a matter of fact, I'm going to make you the host. And you can do your thing from there. You should be able to do whatever you want to do if I make you the host, correct?
Yes, sir.
You're the host.
All right.
Recording in progress.
All right. So I have prepared a PowerPoint presentation for all of you and your audience. Do you see it?
I don't see it just yet, but I'm quite sure. Well, I don't, but those who are on Zoom can probably. There you go. Now I got you.
Got it. It's
yes.
Coming up on YouTube too, right?
I'm recording this, so I'll be able to double share it. We'll be able to upload it.
Got it. So again, this presentation, my brothers and sisters that are watching, focuses on Islam, Sufism, and Freemasonry and how all of it correlates with each other. And again, before getting into anything, I have to reiterate this again. I represent myself only. No grand lot statements or opinion. My work is not endorsed by any Masonic authority, and I'm representing myself in my own private capacity on this public platform. And I thank Brother Tony again for allowing me to be here. So we'll start with a quote from William Preston, who is a great Masonic researcher and scholar. And he said, "The true Mason is a citizen of the world, and his philanthropy extends to all the human race. Uninfluenced by local prejudices, he knows no preference in virtue, but according to its degree from whatever country or climate may spring." So this is basically teaching right from the get-go that wherever you find Masonic light, whatever helps you become a better human being in your endeavors, you give respect to that. So you have to give respect to all of the creeds and ways of life that are out there, because you have one mountaintop and you have many different ways to get to that one mountaintop. So finding a religion or philosophy or way of life, if it helps you become better, you give respect to that. And you can't have a true Mason is one without prejudice, because he gives reverence to all faiths. So now moving into Tasawwuf. In Sufism, you have the aspect of Tasawwuf, which are the wearers of wool. They were known as the people of the bench. They were initiated into the inner mysteries of Islam by the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, similar to Christ in Mark 4:11, where Christ tells his disciples that there will be those of you that will be initiated into the inner mysteries, while those on the outside will be taught in parables. So these were the inner initiates of Islam, the ones that knew the exterior reality, the esoteric, the exoteric, while those on the outside dwelled into like dogmatic sectarianism about Sunni, Shia, this or that, while true Islam teaches you to have unity and faith between mankind. And the aspect of Sufi is the one that's the wearer of wool, Suf, Safwa, the aspect of purity. And you see that wool also worn by the Knights Templar on their hats. And Hugues Dupin's grandfather was also a Moorish Sufi. So the Knights Templar were basically influenced by Moors and Sufis during their travels in the Holy Land. And they still give tribute to that, even though many of them don't know, why is there a wool on top of my head? Because you're representing yourself as a Sufi, the one who is on the path to God. So they
Wait. I don't mean to interrupt you, but I did. Repeat that again. Because I've never heard it. Repeat that again.
So the Knights Templars, when they were in the Holy Land, they studied with what you know as the assassins of Hassan Sabah,
Right.
and the Moors and the Sufis. And the Sufis always representing themselves as the wearers of woolen clothes.
Mm-hmm.
And the Knights Templar took that with them, and you see on top of their head, they have that wool on top of their head, and many don't even know what that means. The wool is a tribute to the Sufis, those that were the wearers of purity and representing the aspect of purity in their cloth and in their character. And that's what the Knights Templar himself represents as a defender of the faith. Because in Islam, you're also taught to defend all the faiths, as Saladin himself allowed Christian pilgrims safe passage in and out of Jerusalem because he was also an initiate of the same brotherhood.
Okay.
So Hugo Stepan's grandfather was a Moorish Sufi, so that influence is always there. They follow the concept of taskia nafs, which is purification of the heart. So basically, they tell you that if you want to find Allah, the creator, the grand architect of the universe, in whichever way you perceive it, you have to look within your heart, because that's where you will find that aspect of the divinity. So it tells you that this divinity, this perfect treasure, trying to understand itself through itself, meaning myself, Brother Tony, all of the brethren on this call, those that are listening, we're all basically manifestations of the same creator manifested in different avatars. So it tells us that we're all part of this one being experiencing this reality, and we have to find Allah within our hearts. And you're looking at the mosques, you're looking at temples, you're looking over here, but you're your own greatest teacher. And to find Allah, you have to look within yourself. So all this time you're looking outside, but the Sufi tells you that you have to follow the purification of the heart and look inside of yourself, which is taskia nafs. And they also follow the 3 stages of fana to get close to Allah. Fana is basically annihilation of the self, to get rid of your ego and to let go of this world and its pettiness and materialism. Now we move on to what is called the 3 stages, and similar to the 3 degrees of Freemasonry. So the first stage is basically fighting the ego and coming to light, hakikat, when you come from darkness to light and you realize nothing in this world works the way that I think that it does. There's always more to this reality. What was shown to me in the schools and life, what my family taught me, you start seeing this world through another eye and another vision, and things kind of like open up for you. That is hakikat, when you come from darkness to light. The following the tariqa is to unite with the grand architect of the universe. That's the second stage of the Sufi, where he's going through trials and tribulations, and he realizes about the black and white tiles that both good and evil come from Allah, the creator, but I also have to believe in destiny, and how as a Mason you're taught to always believe in God and not fear any danger. So that tells you that not every day in your life is going to be a good time. And if you're on this path, if you're an initiate of any path, you will be tested and tried, duly tested and tried, because you're on that path, and you have to make sure that you're really about it, in your character, in your conviction, how you treat yourself, how you treat others, and always exemplify yourself to the highest value possible. The third stage is marifah, the act of know thyself and know thy Lord. Now, this is every time where even Neo goes to the oracle, she always points to the sign above him that says know thyself, because she told him, and even what the Sufi tells you, that when you ultimately know yourself, when you look at yourself in the mirror and realize through your faults, through the good things you did, through the bad things you did, who am I really? What am I doing here? And that's when the Sufi realizes that if I want to get close to the grand architect of the universe, I have to look within myself. And each time you got to chip away at your rough ashlar until it becomes a smooth ashlar. And ultimately, it all comes down to you. You are given the tools, you are given the knowledge, but if you're not going to make that effort inside and put the regular practice and discipline, then you're not going to get anything. So it's all within you at the end. The Sufis also refer to the 4 worlds, the 4 realms of knowledge, the 4 veils. So the first is matter, earth, water, air, fire, and ether, the aspect of knowing God in the world. This is the 3D world we're in right now. So a lot of the Sufis regard this as an open air prison, that we're stuck in this simulation, this open air prison, and you gotta get yourself out of here. And how you get yourself out of here is through good deeds. because when the time comes for you to get judged, your heart has to be lighter than a feather. So you have to let go of this world and realize if I want to move upper and upper into the higher realms, closer to the Most High, I have to let go of this world and its pettiness. Now, the second world that we're dealing with, the realm above, are the spiritual beings, the jinns, the angels, the ifrit, heaven and hell, cause and effect. Now, this is a good one because they tell you as above, so below. So if there's a spiritual war going on here, there's another spiritual war going on up there. And what happens is when you try to get close to Allah, close to God in your own way, the Sufis will say that the angels and jinns will try to test you in their own way. Let's say you'll have past friends, they'll pop up out of nowhere. You'll have past bad habits, they'll try to pop up out of nowhere. Past events, they'll try to get you back into the things that you were getting into because they want to sever your connection with Allah, with God. So you will be tested and tried when you start moving into these higher realms because they want to sever your connection. So that's basically the realm that you're dealing with. And they also said that angels and jinn will come in the form of human beings to test you, to see like, yo, is he really going to pass the test or is he going to fall astray again? So that's basically the second realm that you're dealing with. And they could come in the form of spouses, mates, everyone else. That's exactly how, the realm that we're dealing with. Now, the third realm that we're dealing with is the source of the lost word, which is the hidden tablet, the knowledge of spirit. That is where all of the knowledge of the grand architect of the universe is. And there's a story where Gabriel takes Muhammad, the prophet, to this realm. And Gabriel said that if I take another step forward without Allah's permission, I'm going to get destroyed and I'm going to burst into flames. And this is where Iblis or Lucifer finds out about his betrayal, where he's going around this realm and he's reading this tablet. And he was saying, who is this angel that's going to disobey God 1,000 years from now? And he didn't realize he was reading about himself. And what happens is, like in this realm, the beginning, the middle, and the end of all mankind in existence of this universe is written in this realm, in these hidden tablets in this realm. The fourth realm is the realm of the grand architect of the universe, pure essence. So this basically tells you that the Sufis will say Allah is the only reality. And that's why when you see the Sufis like swirling around, that continuous infinite motion, that's why they say that I realize in this life, whether it's my family, my spouses, or my money, my income, my businesses, I'm not taking anything with me. When you get buried in the ground, the only thing you take with you is what good did you do for yourself and others. And that's why the Sufi says, you know what, I let go of this world. I want nothing to do with it. Just like the Buddha, who was a rich prince, and then he realized the deception of this world, and he just went and sat under a tree and said, I'm not doing anything. And that's exactly what the Sufi is. He's trying to just not associate himself with anything but the Creator, because he realizes at the end, we're stuck in this prison, and we have to pass the spiritual test in this life that we've been put in. So moving on. Now we have the aspect of Iman, Islam, and Ihsan, the 3 stages of realization, similar to the 3 degrees. The first is Iman, belief, faith, secrecy, and full trust in the grand architect of the universe, which is Entered Apprentice, where they tell you, do not fear any danger and trust God and walk your path with conviction. Second is Islam, submission, obedience, knowledge and practice. Reflect on your growth.
You're sort of breaking up. Brother Salam, you're breaking up. Well, I think I lost his connection. He might want to call me back on the line, but I'm going to go ahead and put this in there. Try to put the Zoom in here real quick.
How is it? Do you see me?
I see you, but I lost your connection just for a brief moment. You want to repeat? Go back over, please.
Sure. Do you see my Zoom and my video?
I see your Zoom and I see your video.
God, it looks like the connection is being interfered with because there are certain people who might not want me on here. All right, so excuse me for that, Paul. Looks like the connection was being interfered with. So let's start in the beginning. Iman, Islam, and Ihsan, which are the three stages of realization. First, my brothers and sisters, is Iman, which is belief, faith, secrecy, and full trust in the grand architect of the universe, which is the inner apprentice degree, where you're taught to trust God and not fear any kind of danger. Second, you're dealing with Islam, which is submission, obedience, and knowledge and practice. To reflect on your growth and continue the pursuit of knowledge, fellowcraft. This is where you're given the middle chamber of lecture in terms of the aspect of the chamber of reflection and the aspect of trusting God, that God, no everlasting power but He, as it says in the Holy Quran, from the Sufi perspective, and it tells you to continue the pursuit of knowledge with the seven liberal arts. So the first degree, you're dealing with basically secrecy. Second degree, you're dealing with obedience. Now, third, you're dealing with Ihsan, the third realization, which is a righteous, upright character, living a good life with the time you have been granted, the master mason. And the Sufi have a phrase from the Prophet Muhammad where he tells you, die before you die. Meaning, in this life, you have to let go of this world and its pettiness, knowing it's all an illusion, knowing if anything happened to you today, your family, your spouse might cry for you for a day, for 2 days, for 3 days, but what happens? People move on. Your job might say some good things about you, organization you served for 30 years might say some nice things about you, but what happens the next day? At your chair, there's your replacement sitting there. So that's what the Sufi is telling you, is die before you die. Let go of this world and only put your trust in God and be an upright character with the time that you have been granted, as it's symbolized in the hourglass. So all three stages must be honored fully, or you are just following mere rituals without any meaning, and inevitably leading to hypocrisy. You must practice what you preach, otherwise it's all meaningless and wasted effort. And this is what I've explained to many of even the regular recognized lodges that I have presented this in, is you can't just be a social club where you're just coming around having a piece of pie, reiterating some ritual, and then at the end the brother walks away not realizing, okay, what did I just go through? What was it all about? So if you're not, see, there's a time where there's you're learning about stuff, and there's also the time of application. So you can't just have all your whole life just studying, studying, studying. What are you going to do with that knowledge? There comes a time of application. So there's a learning phase, and then there's an application phase. Okay, now how do I apply this to myself, in my job, at my family, with my neighborhood, with the people that I deal with? And that's what it's really about. If you're not practicing what you preach, then in the eyes of Allah or the Grand Architect, you're just wasting your time. So now we're dealing with the 5 pillars. So just like how you have the pillars in Masonry, Islam or Sufism also have their pillars. This is also called the jihad with the self. Most people think the aspect of jihad meaning holy war. Yeah, you have that concept too, but the Sufi tells you that the greatest jihad you could do is with your own self, because you yourself are your own greatest enemy and you're your own greatest friend. And it goes with the aspect of the 5 pillars: Tuscan, Doric, Ionic, Corinthian, and Composite. First is you start with the I, Shahada. So your full faith in the Grand Architect of the universe. The Sufis would say Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's the aspect that we're dealing with. Are these pillars, and the aspect of knowing that I'm putting my trust in God. Same thing in Masonry. S is Salat, which is prayer. So you have the aspect of prayer, and when you're dealing with prayer, you have to make sure that you have the blessings of the Grand Architect in all of your undertakings. Just like how in Masonry, before you do anything, you invoke the prayer to bless this undertaking. L, you have Psalm, which is fasting. And this is to circumscribe your desire and live your life within due bounds, meaning anything in your life that you do, you make sure you don't do it in excess. Always in moderation, because a good man always moderates himself. Anything that's too little or too much, you're leading yourself astray. When you're going to A, which is the Hajj, pilgrimage, that is basically, the Sufi is tasked with this obligation that once in your life, you have to go to the holy city of Mecca in the east. So be a traveling man to the east. You Just like how a Mason is encouraged to be a traveling man into the East in his pursuits of knowledge. So you're dealing now with M, which is zakat, almsgiving. Now, when any Masonic function you go to, there's always the aspect of charity. They always like to stress that we're charitable, good people. And that's the aspect of zakat. Anytime you go to the masjid, you go to a Sufi order, you have to make the zakat, almsgiving, if it does not jeopardize yourself or your family. Same thing in Masonry, they teach you the same aspect. Now you have merits of the soul, your struggle against self, meaning if you're good within yourself, if you are solid as a rock within your heart, in your soul, then there's no enemy, no jinn, anything on this world cannot shake you because your trust is in Allah and you're not fearing any danger. That's the first lesson of Freemasonry. Trust God and not fear any danger and walk your path with full conviction. And that's exactly what we're dealing with in Islam. And this predates everything in 1717. You have everything that was being taught way before. Now you have the square encompasses of Freemasonry. The G within the square encompasses has at least 3 meanings. Now, if you look at the letter G, that's the 7th letter, right? And if you look at many groups, you have the aspect of 7, which represents God or Allah. Freemasonry is open to those who believe in a supreme being. This is supported in Holy Quran, Surah 2, verse 256. There is no compulsion in religion, meaning that even Islam, you follow it to the best of your ability. Just like how in Freemasonry, they tell you if you can attend lodge, that's fine. If not, you practice Masonry in the capacity which does not jeopardize you in any way, meaning your first obligation is to your family. So that's supported in Surah 2, verse 257. And then from darkness to light, there's a verse in the Holy Quran. In Arabic, min az-zulamati ila nuri, meaning that Allah is the one who brings you from darkness to light, meaning you think you are choosing a path, but in reality, it's the path that has chosen you. It was things that fell in place that led you to a certain situation, place, thing, all the things that you're meant to do, people that you're meant to see, places that you're meant to go. It's an exquisite plan in motion by the grand architect of the universe, leading you to that sublime plan, which you are meant to fulfill in this lifetime. Now, the Sufis believe in what we call the Muhammadan reality, the light of Nur Muhammad. When people hear the word Muhammad, they think of the 6th century prophet in Arabia. But this is basically in reality to the creation story, because the Sufi says when there was no creation, there was this primordial chaos and this abyss, Allah created the light of Nur Muhammad. And from the light of Nur Muhammad, all creation was created. The stars, the galaxies, the moons, humans, animals, all species of this earth and this universe, inner earth, outer earth, everything. And what the Sufis believe is that from this light, let's say all of the great teachers that have came to this earth, Moses, Christ, Buddha, Muhammad, Solomon, David, peace be upon them all, that they all were a manifestation of this same light in different avatars. And what they tell you is the aspect that everything is part of this reality, meaning if we all come from the same source, how can I hate anybody? Because hate and anger is basically from the aspects of evil that's there to destroy you and divide you amongst your fellow men. And we're seeing that a lot right now in the current kind of chaos that we're in. So it's telling you that anywhere where there's hate or division of any kind, just know that that is not of God. That is not of a Muhammadan reality, where people fall in that trap of your God and my God. That is not the truth. The truth is unity between all mankind, just like how Masonry professes being on the level with your brothers and sisters under the fatherhood of God. And the aspect of even the Muhammadan reality basically nails that. So now we move on to what is the goal of the Sufi and the Mason. The goal of the Sufi is to become one with his beloved, the grand architect of the universe, and to become better, adab, in his character, and being to honor self and humanity. The goal of the Mason is to believe in God, honor his brothers, smooth his ashlar, and be a better man. Tawakkul, that's the Arabic word, to basically trust God no matter what. Right now, we're living in times of trials and tribulation. Sometimes we let things get the best of us. But look at it this way. If it weren't for the problems in your life, you wouldn't be who you are today in terms of the lessons and the things that you learned from it. That made you a better person because it was designed to be that way. So now we're looking at Tawheed. Tawheed is belief in the supreme being, meaning you have to trust Allah or God or the grand architect in whichever way you perceive it, no matter what. And that is Tawheed is telling you the oneness of it all, that all of it is one. No matter which way you perceive it, it's all leading you to the same destination. And you find what works for you and you excel in that.
I have a question. I have a question. Someone just posted, Michael Ghost, there is two notions. You can embrace God, love, or be in fear of God. If you choose to love God, you become his workman. If you choose to fear him, you become his voice or messenger. That was just a pretty interesting post right there. And I just wanted to share that with you because to me, it was going in sync to what you were saying. That's my opinion.
Yes, Brother Tony, and I agree with that. Thank you for sharing that insight.
All right.
So now we move on to the Prophet Muhammad, who's the widow's son. Most people do not know that what we know as the Prophet Muhammad, he himself was a widow's son. He lost his father at a young age and was raised by his mother, a widow, till the age of 6. Married Khadija, his first wife, the widow, at age 25. He said, I had come to perfect the other character of mankind. Just like how a Mason is there to perfect his character and teach others to do the same. He established religious and racial freedom with his decrees, dealing with Hazrat Bilal, who was a slave being persecuted by the Meccan tribes, and he granted him freedom, covenant with the monks of St. Catherine Monastery, and the Constitution of Medina, which gave rights to Jews and Christians who were persecuted by the pagan tribes. And this is exactly what we're taught to respect the people of the book, because when Prophet Muhammad was being persecuted by the pagans, it was the Ethiopian Christians who gave him sanctuary. And that's why we're taught to respect our Christians, brothers and sisters, just like how in Masonry, we're taught that everyone has their own belief and you're taught to be on the level. And this is exactly the example that Saladin followed when he was there in the Holy Land, allowing Christians and Jews to have safe passage and to protect their places of worship. He instructed mankind to become one ummah community. So to become an ummati, or to become part of the ummah, meaning all beings on this earth are one family. We're all one family and you have to be on the level. And that's exactly what he taught in his studies and his teachings. Instructed to take care of widows and orphans, as passed down in the Bukhari and Muslim hadiths. Now, all of these things that we're seeing about perfecting the character, becoming one community on the level, taking care of widows and orphans, this is the exact thing that even Freemasonry teaches its members. To take care of widows and orphans, become one with everyone, respect everyone, perfect your character. So this is the example the Sufis follow, that their greatest teacher is the exemplification of following the life of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. So now we're looking at the aspect of the all-seeing eye, of the grand architect of the universe. Now, people, when they look at the symbol of the dollar bill, they think it's evil, because that's that Spanish Inquisition mind that's been branded into their brains with the European mindset that they've been brought up with the education system here. And that's what it is. People are taught to fear and condemn things they do not understand. So in Sufism, you have the 99 names of Allah. The 100th name is missing, just like how in Freemasonry, you're taught to be in quest and search for the missing name through all of the houses that you go through. So Al-Basir is one of the 99 names of Allah, and Al-Basir means the all-seeing. They say the camel knows the 100th name of God, which starts with the letter G. And the only way you can get this 100th name is within your heart. You have to be at such a spiritual capacity that you yourself will be aware that there's some things that cannot be spoken. You will know in your heart when you are granted that realization from the Most High. Now, there's a story that goes with this teaching. Is basically in Sufism, they tell you that there was a Sufi sheikh who had 3 disciples, of course, in 3, and he gave each of them 3 chickens, and he told each of them, go and take this chicken somewhere where no one will see it and kill it there. The first one took it to his house and killed it there. First one took it to the forest and killed it there. Now, the third disciple came back to the sheikh, or the equivalent of the worshipful master, and said, Sheikh, I went to the house, Allah was watching me. I went to the forest, Allah was watching me. I went to the other places, He was watching me. Everywhere I went, He was always watching my actions, my hearts, my deeds. And so I could not do this because I do not want to be held accountable for hurting one of His creation. And the sheikh said, you are the one that passed the test. And in this life, Brother Tony, we go around with our arrogance, with our ego, thinking that we're big and bad, not knowing that everything that we do in this life, everything that we think, we say, we do, there's a price to pay for everything. We think that we get away with it, but He's always watching. And He will hold us accountable one day. And that's what the Sufi says is, don't waste the time that you've been granted in this life. Use it wisely and use it to do good for yourself and others. Now moving on to the brethren of the white cloth. Now in Sufism, you have the aspect of basically when a brother Master Mason is wearing the innocence of the lambskin of the Master Mason, the white pure cloth of purity, he looks at another brother and he gives him the same respect, even though they never met each other. But that love has already been established and they're equally divested, meaning it's not wealth that can buy your way into the fraternity. It's the purity of your heart that counts as the ultimate acceptance into a path to be initiated. Now on the right hand, you see pictures of brothers in Mecca, and they're wearing the same white cloth of unity. It's called the ihram, which phonetically comes to Hiram, meaning you become Hiram, and they tell you that you wear this white cloth upon death. So already you're exemplified to represent yourself as death, wearing that white cloth of unity. This, regardless of your race, regardless of who's a CEO or who's a janitor or who's a businessman, you're equally divested of everything. Meaning, just like how you get initiated into Freemasonry and you're taught that it's not wealth that buys your way, but it's the purity of your conduct, character, and heart. Same thing we see here, regardless of your race, your income, your background, you wear this white cloth of purity and you recognize your brothers as such. And this is what changed Malcolm X's life when he went to Mecca in the East, because he was able to see reality from another point of view. And he realized that there was more to this life than what was taught to me in America. Even what you say, Brother Tony, is like many here in America are limited to what they see in their hometown, their cities, their lodges, and they never traveled outside of those places in their entire life. So their experience and their vision is limited to that alone. Right. So when you go out and see everything, you realize, okay, this is how things really work. And this is what changed even Malcolm's life. This perception of us coming in naked out of our mother's womb is the same way that we're going to go back into the ground in this white cloth of purity. Now you have the aspect of the black and white tiles, the white lodge and the black lodge, God. So the Sufis believe that both good and evil come from Allah, from God, and He's testing you in both forms, just like how you see the black and white tiles of Freemasonry. And it shows you in the Holy Quran, Surah 21, verse 35, that every soul will taste death. And we test you with evil and with good as trial, and to us you will be returned. Same thing in Freemasonry, you're taught the aspect of duality and the aspect that everything good and evil comes from Allah. Now, there's a story that's associated with this, and it tells you that the angel of death visits you 5 times a day during the 5 daily prayers. And each time he will ask God, can I take him now? Can I take him now? Can I take him now? And each time God will say, no, only when I tell you to. There was a situation where there was a rich businessman. He had like big cars, big homes. He had all the luxuries that any man could wish for. And the angel of death was given the order by God to come and collect him. And he started crying. He said, what about my wife, my kids, my businesses, my money? And the angel of death told him, you're not taking nothing with you. And he said, what can I take with me? He said, what good did you do for yourself and others? And the tears started streaming down his face. He said, all the people that I lied to, I cheated, I threw them under the bus. And, I was thinking that I was going to make my business. I was going to take all of this. And at the end, I left the same way that I came in, naked and with nothing. except my spiritual wealth and my spiritual deeds. And this is exactly what you're taught in Masonry, the aspect of memento mori, that always be ready for your death. You prepare for your death. And in Islam and in Sufism, you're also every day, with each passing breath, I myself am preparing for that inevitable outcome. I could go to sleep right now, Brother Tony, after I'm done talking with all of you. I might not wake up. What guarantee I have with the money I might have in my pocket or who I am? I don't have no guarantee. So that's what this is telling you is use your time wisely and not to be disheartened when you get tested with both good and evil, realizing that there is a destiny for you and both good and evil trials come from Allah. And that is the White Lodge and Black Lodge analogy that the Sufis use. Now we move on to the aspect of being on the level. Now, if you go to the Scottish Rite House of the Temple in Washington, D.C., you will see all of the books laid out on the altar, giving equal reverence to all faiths, like the true Mason does. So in Holy Quran, Surah 2, verse 62 tells you that those who believe in the Quran and those who follow the Jewish scriptures and the Christians and the Sabians, any who believe in Allah, God, and the last day and work righteousness, shall have their reward with their Lord. On them shall be no fear, nor shall they grieve. Now, this is the propaganda that we have seen in this country in the media, where they're teaching everybody that the Muslims refer to everybody as infidels and they're out to get you. So that's fear-based mind control, because they had an agenda or war to push, and then they can only do that if they have the support of the populace. So in reality, even the Quran Islamic Sufi aspect tells you that whether you're a Jew, Christian, or Muslim, if you're doing righteous deeds, then you will be fine. And it also tells you, Surah 49, verse 10, that the believers are but brothers. So make peace between your two brothers and be mindful of God, so that you may be given mercy. This is equivalent to Psalms 133 that a lot of the Masonic brethren like to use, that behold, how good it is for brethren to dwell in unity. And this is telling you that all of the believers are but one brotherhood, and make peace between your brothers. And also it tells you that we make no distinction between any of God's messengers, meaning everyone is given equal reverence. So now we move on to the aspect of the cable toe, unity and charity. So when you get initiated into Freemasonry, there is the aspect of the cable toe. And what is that teaching you? So in Surah 3, verse 103, it tells you, hold fast together to the cable of Allah, God, and be not divided. Remember the blessings that Allah bestowed upon you. You were once enemies. Then he brought your hearts together so that through his blessing you became brothers. And what happens is, in a Masonic lodge, you'll have brethren of all backgrounds, all walks of life, all religions, sitting on the table of brotherhood. And it's telling you that for them to come to that level of realization, they have to hold on to the rope of Allah. Because when that rope of Allah is not there, then that is basically a part of your initiation in many ways, is that cable toe. So you have to remember the blessing, knowing if I'm outside, it's like what Brother Tony said, like you get a kick out of this fraternity. It teaches you a lot. And it's the aspect of love and unity and brotherhood and these experiences that you have. Where else can you have these experiences where Jews, Christians, Muslims, we can all come together, love each other, call each other brothers, and be an example to humanity that if we can do it, why can't you? In this time of chaos that we're in, it's much, much needed. And that is the lesson of the cable toe, that if somebody is within a distance of your help, you help them if it's within your capability to do so. And to trust the aspect of trusting God always. Because everything, whatever lesson in Masonry you come across, it all comes down to trusting God. That's what it is. So now we have the importance of companionship. Now, Grandmaster Rumi of the Mevlevi Sufi order, and Rumi is very popular in the West, one of his poems is that the company of the good will make you good, the company of the bad will make you bad. Those who are of the same nature will fly off together. Eagles soar with eagles, pigeons flutter with pigeons. And on the right, you have Ibn Khaldun, the Sufi master, who says that hard times create strong men create good times create weak men, and weak men create hard times. So this is very true, especially with the reality that we're dealing with right now, meaning that it's so important to have the proper companionship, Brother Tony, and all of the brothers that are listening. When you're as a man, see in Western society from an Eastern perspective, there's always the aspect of individualism that is taught. So not worry about anybody else. Yeah, just worry about yourself. It doesn't matter what the other person is doing. It's all about you. So basically in this time, important companionship is very much needed. So if you can find a group that can help you become a better man, whether it's masonry or anything else in between, you follow that to the best of your ability, and you follow it like the good man that you are. And know that in times, that good times and bad times are there for a reason. So right now we're in the process of weak men create hard times. So now right now everyone's living through a hard phase. And we're going to go back to that first cycle where hard times create strong men. So now everyone's in the process of going from weak to strong in this society, which has no accountability. There's individualism. Nobody wants to make the effort to sit and learn from each other. There's no commitment. There's no relationships. So right now in this time, if you could find the proper companionship with the proper brothers and sisters, it's very pivotal to getting through this phase, because the Sufis tell you, even if you look at these stories of Christ, Moses, Muhammad, peace be upon them, they couldn't get to their destinations without their brethren, their companions, their disciples. So we need each other. Ultimately, we're all walking each other home, and we're here to uplift each other's hearts. So now we move on to the aspect of eat, drink, and fellowship. What is the main thing of any Masonic gathering? Even what I've seen in regular recognized: eat, drink, and fellowship. Because what is the closest way to somebody's heart when you sit down and break bread with them?
Break their bread.
Yep, that's exactly what it is. And the Sufi gathering, you see, they're all sitting together, just like how you have a table lodge. They're sitting and conversing with each other. They're having that aspect of brotherhood and unity. And you're instructed to eat together and invoke God's blessings. Just like when you go to a Masonic gathering, before eating food, you invoke the blessing of God, bless the food and the gathering. You're encouraged for brethren and companions, as supported in the hadiths of Abu Dawood. The best are those that serve food to others, khidmah. So in Sufism, they tell you that you could have somebody that's praying 5 times a day and doing all the good things, but the one greater than he is the one who is serving mankind, meaning he's feeding the homeless, he's going around and helping people, helping those less fortunate, and trying to help those within his capability to do so. And there's a story from the Prophet, peace be upon him, that says that there was a pious man going to the masjid, praying 5 times a day, reading the Quran and all that good stuff. And then he was asked, who's providing for you? Who's giving you the toiletries? Who's giving you daily food? And the people said, it was us. It's us who's doing it. And the Prophet said, you're better than him. So if you're living your life in service to others, feeding the homeless, helping those less fortunate, you are given more reverence than those who pray or go to church every Sunday, because you're taking the time to serve God's creation. And in reality, through serving his creation, you're serving him. And then it's the aspect of fellowship, break bread, good counsel, charity, and brotherhood. Now we move on to kasha, removing the veils to know God. So those that are Master Masons in the Royal Arch, they would know what it means to remove the veils. The 7 veils to the Grand Architect of the universe. G, God, the 7th letter. Reason, knowledge, the heart, the self, senses, desire, and will. Only the true seeker will find God's reality, which can be found through self-realization. You are given the tools, but must do the work yourself. Even you see in Freemasonry, people would come in and say, I didn't learn anything from them. But in reality, you didn't have the eyes to see what was given to you. You weren't given everything, but it's up to you, whether as a builder, do you want to just sit still and help yourself? Do you want to use the tools of the Creator to really put that work in and start building like the builder you are? And the Sufis tell you that Allah does not improve the condition of an individual or the people until they make an effort to help their own selves. So you must help yourself, and you as a people and a community must help yourself before the Creator helps you. And that's exactly what's shown in the Sufi teachings. It's just like with me a few years ago, I was looking at a lot of these Masonic podcasts and Masonic groups and channels, and I'm thinking, why aren't they talking about anything that's from the East, from Asia, from the East, from Africa, from these philosophies and schools of thoughts that were practicing this stuff way before anybody? But they only want to talk about the Greeks and Pythagoras and all that stuff. And I'm thinking, you know what? I was given the tools as a builder, so I'm going to do my own thing. And because of that, it led me to this moment with even Brother Tony finding me, and here we are. So everything is a sublime plan, meaning if somebody's out there doing you don't want to see, then you do it yourself. Don't complain. Don't complain about anything, because God only helps you until you help yourself. And that's when the blessings of divinity come. When you as a builder start building yourself up, you build your community, you build your people, that's when the blessing comes. Until then, you are given free will. And that is a concept that people have to understand. So Sufism is aimed at lifting the symbolic veil between the heart of the believer and the true reality of God. Meaning, God is in front of you the whole time, but do you have the eyes to see it? That's what people say, is that, where is God? I'm trying to find God, but he's there. But do you have the eyes to see it? Just like how in the Sufi tradition, they tell you that angels and jinns and different beings will come in the guise of human beings to test you. You might see on the exterior as a human being, but do you really know what's going on the inside? So it's important that you really look within your own self to find out what's what. Because ultimately, you yourself are your own greatest teacher. Now we move on to the aspect of the 24-inch gauge, where in Freemasonry, you're taught to divide your time properly and use it so you're living your life in due balance. The Sufi, he's given these social responsibilities of teachings of Islam concerning social responsibilities are based on kindness and consideration of others. Your first obligation is to your family, then to your relatives, your neighbors, your friends, God, acquaintances, orphans and widows, the needy of the community, your fellow believers, fellow human beings, and animals. Meaning, you have those that get lost in Freemasonry and they belong to all of these houses, they're investing all of this time and money, but at the end, they kind of lost the thought, because now they're neglecting their finances, they're neglecting their health, they've neglected their family in many ways, they neglected their job, they're going into debt, they're getting into health problems, meaning that lesson, a first lesson that was given to you, you already failed it, regardless if you have a 32 or 33 next to your name. You have to live your life in a proper balance, because that is the first thing that's taught to you in your apprentice. So basically, you have to divide everything properly. So if you're handling everything good, because a good man is one who's able to sustain a relationship, he's able to sustain his family, he's able to sustain his job. So that is what a good man is. And once you have that foundation in order, that's when you can give back to others. And that's why your first obligation is to your family and those that come in your neighborhood, to God, your vocations, and to Freemasonry, if you got the capacity to do so, or to Sufism. Now we move to the aspect of proper vetting, recommendation, and mentoring. And in Sufism, it's referred to in the Arabic word of tarbiyat, meaning you have to truly be about it for you to gain anything. The proposer or the proper recommendation of the seeker is needed for the sheikh, equivalent of the worshipful master, and the proposer, the recommender, have to deal with spiritual consequences from God. The seeker must be of a pure heart, intent, and soul. Once initiated, the seeker must be carefully mentored and counseled, quality over quantity. Uplift the seeker's heart so he can do for others.
Absolutely.
Now, what's the first thing that happens, Brother Tony, when somebody messes up? They find out, okay, who's the one that signed this petition? Who was his proposer?
Absolutely.
That's exactly what it is. In Sufism, they tell you that if you're not bringing the proper person in, the sheikh, the worshipful master, who's the equivalent of, and the recommender have to deal with spiritual consequences from God. And that is the true in Freemasonry as well, meaning you want somebody that's a man of his word, a man who's going to keep his wits about him, not going to lose his cool, not going to lose his strength within and without when things get tough or the situation gets tough. You want somebody that's in there for the long haul. And that's why you have many brothers that they would wait a long time to see if the person is serious. The person would have to ask him multiple times, gain his trust. And then you know, okay, yeah, this person is legit. I can put my name on his petition and not have to worry about anything. So that's basically the proper vetting and recommendation that you are taught in Sufism as well. And as you see on the left hand, you have the Sufi sheikh, who's the master instructing his brethren and disciples. On the right, you have a worshipful master that's initiating a new young brother. It's the same exact thing. You're there to uplift each other, and the proper tarbiyah, which is given from the sheikh to the student, and vice versa, that energy has to be reciprocated. Because if it's only the worshipful master or the sheikh putting in the work, and the student is not reciprocating that same energy back, then that relation falls. Over time, even if there's something that's holding it together, inevitably the wheat gets separated from the chaff. And that's why you have many that come in masonry, their intention is not pure, and ultimately they go away. Because you, just like how you came in, if you're not about it, you'll get led away. So this is the same thing in Sufism. So now you have the Islamic lunar cycle, and even in many Masonic jurisdictions, they have Masonic moonlight lodges, lodge on the moon, Sufi and Masonic comparison. It is not uncommon, Brother Tony, for Masonic lodges to meet at the full moon cycle. This is the origin of the tradition. In some jurisdictions, that a lunar month was the minimum time between degrees. In Islam, the lunar months are also followed for practices, holidays, observances, ceremonies, and there are still lodges that follow this. Meaning, this is an Islamic tradition that the Masonic Brotherhood follows, following the cycles of the moon, and some lodges meeting in the evenings. So this is exactly what it is. When the moon comes out, that's when the Masons meet. They have Masonic moonlight lodges in California, where you're at. They have Masonic moonlight lodges in Ohio and some other jurisdictions that are out there. So there are those that follow the lunar cycle. Just like how in Islam and Sufism, they wait for the sighting of the moon to predict when the Eid holiday is going to be, when Ramadan is going to be, or when they do the Sufi ceremonies, they find out when the moon gets sighted. So everything depends on the cycle of the moon. Just like how in Freemasonry, it's the same thing. And Islam was following this way before 1717. So now we move on to Suleiman al-Hakim, who is King Solomon, Solomon the Wise. And the Sufis regard Suleiman as a prophet of Allah. He's referred to as Nabi Suleiman and Suleiman al-Hakim, the Wise. And basically, when God had asked him, "Oh, Suleiman, what do you desire?" And he said, "I only want wisdom." And with wisdom, he was given command over the jinns, the ifrit, different beings that he had boxed up in his ring that he had. So in the aspect of Al-Aqsa, the Temple Mount, where it's under control by a lot of the Sufi families, that's where Suleiman al-Hakim is buried. So even what we revere as King Solomon, his stories, his allegories, is given credit for by the Sufis, and his gravesite is under protection and under the control of Sufi Islamic families. And we're taught to follow his example, that Suleiman had all of this stuff that was given to him, but the only thing he desired from Allah was wisdom. Meaning, if you have wisdom, you have everything else in this world. When people ask for certain things, they don't get it, and a barrier gets put up, that means it was not meant for you. And when Suleiman was given command over the jinns and the ifrit, meaning you have to be of a certain caliber of a human being for you to be able to deal with many beings around you. So you have many people that ask. It was interesting because I was in Philadelphia one time with a Moorish brother, and we were sitting at this place, and there was a person asking, "When are the aliens coming to visit us?" And the Moorish brother laughed. He said, "They're already here, but do you see them?"
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So meaning what even Suleiman teaches you is you have to be of a certain purity in your heart, in your caliber, and in your conduct. That's when Allah or the Grand Architect will open your eyes up to see the world for what it really is. So that's what we learned from him, is the aspect of being wise. And when you're wise, whether you're dealing with jinns, angels, whoever, just like he was, you will be given your due rights and respect. Now we're dealing with a lot of the Masonic brethren you see on Facebook are always referring to the Star Wars and giving it like a Masonic analogy or comparing it with Freemasonry. Now the word Jedi comes from the Arabic word al-Jedi, meaning the master of the way. And in Sufism, that's what you're taught since day one. As you see the Sufi dervish whirling around, he's taught to give up everything in this world for his love of Allah and to become the master of his life and to be fearless in his pursuits when he's resisting evil, when he's fighting in a war. And as you see Muslims in wars, they don't fear any death or any danger because for them, they know that I have to stand up for justice. It's either me or you, and it's going to be me. And that's what the El Jedi is, the master of the way. His trust is in Allah, and he overcomes his enemies within and outside, no matter even if the enemy is 10 times stronger than him. And that is exemplified recently in the conclusion of the Afghanistan war. So now we see on the bottom right, which is the logo of the Jedi Council, and there's a Sufi group in Sudan who is a rebel group that use the same symbol because it's an Islamic symbol. So you see, you have many in Western society, like Star Wars and all this stuff, where they're portraying Sufi and Islamic teachings even in their characters, and they don't give credit to it. So El Jedi is the master of the way, just like how Masons give reverence to through their analogies to Yoda on Facebook with their memes, talking about the Jedis. It's all one and the same. Now we move on to the Ikhwan al-Safa, the Freemasons of Basra. Now, these brothers existed since the 9th century. So whoever wants to give you the 1717 origin story, they existed way before that. And even if you look at Mackey's Masonic Encyclopedia #2, page 601, they are given credit as the 9th century Freemasons of Basra, Iraq. The above image that you see resembles the three lights, the sun, the moon, and the sheikh, equivalent of the worshipful master, just like how you see in a Masonic lodge. Now, they were differentiated into 4 ranks. One of the ranks was the craftsman, where you had to be of 15 years of age. So once you were initiated at a craftsman, the minimum age was 15 years old. Then after 15 years later, once you hit age 30, then you were regarded as a leader. 10 years after that, you were regarded as a king. And then another 10 years after that, you were given the equivalents of the prophets and philosophers. And you see all of the symbolism portrayed in the shrine and the grotto, all of these Islamic themed Masonic organizations that they have here. And the Ikhwan al-Safa, they taught esoteric and occult knowledge with their 52 epistles. They influenced Christian Rosencreutz and the Templars pre-1717. So these brethren wanted to share that knowledge. So with them, it wasn't about if you're a Jew, Christian, if you're white, black, Arab, Persian, whatever. If you were a good man of a good report, well recommended, you believed in a supreme being, all of those, and you were of a mature age, then you were allowed to join the Ikhwan al-Safa. Same thing, and it sounds very familiar, all of it. And even Christian Rosencreutz, who founded Rosicrucianism, he went to Morocco and studied under these Sufi masters, and he took that knowledge back to Europe. Just like how the Knights Templar studied with these Sufi brothers and Moorish brothers and took that knowledge back to Europe. And none of the Masonic historians give credit to the East for this. But even if you see the John Wick movie, the third one, you see that he goes from the West to the East, and he realizes the people still running everything were the hidden masters of the East. And Morocco, the Moors, first country to recognize America. There's a lot of pieces of the puzzles that come together in this.
You're right on point with that one.
Yeah, definitely. And Hollywood is showing you the truth. Now we have the 3 lights: the sun, the moon, and the sheikh, the worshipful master. So on the right-hand side, my brothers, you see the aspect of what it teaches you Freemasonry, right? You have the sun, the moon, and you have the eye, all-seeing eye of God, and that is the sheikh, who is representing God, or basically representing that divinity and guiding his brothers. Now, most people, they say when you refer to somebody as worshipful master, you can't serve 2 masters at once. But see, that's where they get it twisted, because in a Sufi perspective, they tell you when calling somebody worshipful, from the west to the east, going through the chairs, going through the different positions of knowledge, ups and downs of life, to work his way towards the east. He is one that is connected to God. So that's what it means to be a worshipful. It's not about worshiping two masters at once. So that's what many people in the West who have an anti-Masonic sentiment, that's the first thing that they bring up. So on the left-hand side, you have the Bektashi Sufi order from Turkey. And of course, you see the same exact thing. You have the sun, the moon, the worshipful master, or the sheikh, who is there keeping an eye on his brethren. He's there keeping an eye on him because the Sufi sheikh, his insight is powerful. Like if I'm not doing my zikrs, if I'm not doing my prayers, a lot of them have that spiritual intuition that they know that I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do. And they'll reach out to you and correct your behavior. Just like how counsel to his brother if he sees him in error in any kind of way, shape, or form. And again, all of this existed way before 1717. So now you have the aspect of the Sufi and Masonic wages. You have to honor each other. On the left-hand side, you have the Prophet Muhammad that says, give the worker his wages before his sweat dries. And the aspect of wages is portrayed in the Fellow Craft and the Mark Master Mason degrees. And even on the right-hand side, you have Benjamin Franklin that says that Masonic labor is purely a labor of love. And if you're trying to basically draw those wages in gold or silver, you'll be disappointed. And the wages of a Mason is basically you dealing with yourself and each other fairly. Kindness, sympathy, helpfulness, love, charity, brotherhood. You reciprocate that back with each other. Those are the true wages of each other, dealing with each other properly. And that's what it basically is. If you uplift each other and you love each other and you guide each other, that is the true purpose of your human life, whether it's the Masonic Brotherhood, whether it's Sufism, or anything else that you come in between. It's all about upliftment of self and others. That's what it ultimately comes down to. Now we look at the aspect of Rumi. Rumi says that every moment I shape my destiny with a chisel. I am the carpenter of my own soul. And what Rumi teaches you in his teachings is basically, and even what the Sufi master has shown, the whirling dervish, who's whirling in continuous motion to become one with his beloved, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whom he feels the loss from. And that is exactly it, that in your life, you have to think good, know good, do good. Every day you have to chip away at your imperfections, knowing is there anything that could have done better, did better, said better. And that is ultimately all of the tools are given to you. You yourself are your own greatest teacher. And with that knowledge that's been bestowed upon you, it's up to you on how you choose to handle it. Like even myself in the regular recognized community, I've known people who are, let's say, masters or past masters or have a 32 or 33 next to their name. A lot of them don't know anything. They don't have any spiritual or esoteric knowledge because it was never taught to them. So meaning, if you are given those tools and if you don't use that properly, then you can't blame anybody. And that's why even in that community, you see everyone making their own individual platforms and podcasts now to try to interact with those that have that knowledge. So now we go on to the tree of acacia. Now in Freemasonry, the acacia plant is given good reverence. And in Sufism, this is known as the Pledge of Rizwan under the acacia tree, which is in Surah 48, verse 18, where it says, Allah was pleased with the believers when they were pledging allegiance with you by placing their hands in your hands under the tree. The companions, brethren of Muhammad, the widow's son, taking the oath of Rizwan under the acacia tree. Meaning, when you're with your brother, it's your hand for his hand, your life for his life, your part for his part. That's what it means to be a brother, or to be in the aspect of brotherhood. I know many people use that word loosely, but in the Sufi aspect, that's taken with like serious regard, as it's shown in this pledge. Even in Masonry, you take each other hand in hand. So this pleased Allah God. The companions were rewarded with eternal paradise, a tree of heaven native to desert areas of the Islamic world. And in Freemasonry, the acacia tree symbolized the immortality of the soul, that the Master Mason will always live on. there's always that sprig of acacia that they always use the symbolism of on the Master Mason's grave. Meaning you're thinking that this life, okay, this is it for me, but you will always continuously exist in some way, shape, or form. Whether it's a mineral that goes from a plant, plant goes to an animal, animal goes to man, man goes to angel, and angel goes back to God. So everything is in this infinite spiral, and it's all a continuous state of existence and motion, meaning that in this physical avatar, you're thinking that, okay, this is my only life, but your soul is immortal. Just like how in Freemasonry, you're taught the same, that your soul continuously lives on in whichever way your existence continues to manifest. And to basically, again, this reiterates to putting your faith in your brothers, your companions, and in God. So this is already taught in the Islamic world. Now we have the Sufis in Istanbul, 15th century, the arts and sciences, the seven liberal arts, again, pre-1717, where you have the seven liberal arts, which are logic, rhetoric, grammar, astronomy, music, you have arithmetic, you have geometry, astronomy, all of these things, the seven liberal arts of Freemasonry. And you see here, you see the brother in the orange shirt, he has the compass, the brother on the left, he's doing astronomy. There's the hourglass, which symbolizes your time on earth with death. There's the square, the level, the plumb. There's the books in the back where they're studying rhetoric, logic, grammar, arithmetic, all of those things. And this is pre-1717. So again, this goes over that 1717 origin story. You look at many of the astronomy factors, many of the stars, they have Arabic names because a lot of the Sufis and Moors were already traveling the world, and they were doing their thing and bestowing knowledge upon the world. And that's what we're taught in Sufism as well, is be the seekers of love, light, and knowledge. All right, so now moving on to the importance of music. Now, Sufis, you have like Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan, you have Abd Parbin, you have so many of these great Sufi masters that are there that are basically reiterating their love for God and the Creator through odes and hymns and music. And what happens is all of this music that's there is there to express your love for the Creator. And even in the lodge, you have the organist, you have those that sings odes and hymns, whether you're in the Red House or Blue Lodge, that those odes and hymns are exemplified and they're given reverence to. And recently I visited another country where they basically open and close their lodge with odes and hymns, giving reverence to brotherhood and God. So this tradition, if you visit Sufi musical gatherings, that's already there in Sufism as well. Whether you're hearing Sufi music, meditation music, Sufi musicians, all of those odes and hymns are already reiterated, again, pre-1717 in our gatherings. Now you have the aspect of the incense. Now, Thomas Smith Webb in his Masonic writings has said that the incense is basically the symbolism of a pure heart. And the incense is basically a sacrifice to deity upon the altar of God. And if you look at the incense, this is also the tabernacle symbolism that's used in Freemasonry. And in King Solomon's temple, there was aspects of incense everywhere. And in the Islamic world, incense is given great regard also as a form of initiatic, ceremonial, and celebration factor. Meaning if you go to any Sufi lodge, you go to any Masonic lodge that still uses this tradition, it's the same thing. Because the incense is kind of a sensory point of unity, and it kind of calms your senses and helps you circumscribe your desires and brings you all together in a form of sensory unity. Meaning what I've said about music and incense, if many of the North American lodges had music and incense and all that aspect in their lodges, their attendance would not suffer because brethren would have something to look forward to calm themselves down. So now we're dealing with fana, the annihilation of self. And in Freemasonry, you're taught that ego need not enter here. And in Sufism, you have the aspect of the fakir. And in fana, you're taught basically to let go of this world, meaning that all of this world and its petty stuff that they put you through, that you have to get a job, you have to get a degree, you have to do this, you have to do this, you have to do that, get married, have kids, all that stuff. So the Sufi just lets go. He realizes that this whole thing is a lie. And why am I being put through all of this? And he becomes a fakir. So I ran into a Sufi master. This guy was a pediatrician. He had a good job, and he had everything. And I asked him, I said, who are you? He said, I'm a fakir. And fakir is like basically a beggar. I'm a beggar for God. And I said, why would you say that about yourself? He said, look at the way that I came into this world, naked and crying, and I'm going to leave this world in the same manner, naked. And the only thing that I take with me is what good did you did for yourself and others with the time that you were given. And that's why the Sufi starts living that aesthetic lifestyle, just like in Freemasonry. You are told ego need not enter here, and you're given the symbolism of the skull, the memento mori, and the hourglass, meaning that this life you've been given, make the best of it. Don't waste your time. Love those that you need to love, apologize to those you need to apologize, and make things right, because tomorrow is not promised to any of us. So now we're dealing with the aspect of La ilaha illallah, where the Sufi says that there is no God but Allah, meaning Allah is the only thing in creation. And everything, including us, manifested in these different physical avatars talking to each other, it's all part of that same creation. So when you have La ilaha illallah, those are the 7 syllables or the 7 chakras that you're dealing with within your own self. And in Surah 50, they tell you that God is closer to you than your jugular vein, meaning that if you want to find God, you don't have to look too far, but God is within you. But you just got to know how to tap into it.
Absolutely.
You just got to know how to tap into it. It's just like us breathing air right now. That's how it is easy for you to find God if you have the knowledge to do so. Now it starts from the bottom, meaning you have to protect yourself. And even in the Freemasonry aspect, you wear the apron, which covers your root chakra, meaning it's telling you not to be in excess of anything. The aspect of prohibiting alcohol, because alcohol is spirits, vessels, these are different entities that take over your physical vessel. So you're prohibited from alcohol. You're prohibited from releasing your life force energy. And we're living in such a promiscuous culture where the female has been degraded, the man has been degraded, especially in America. I'm going through TikTok, and all I see is women just degrading themselves, just shaking their body parts, and I'm thinking this is not right. You know, would somebody want to see their daughter like that on this platform where they're being disrespected? So the Sufi is telling you that Allah has given you this vessel, and you are the vessel of Allah. And if you're not going to handle it responsibly, you're going to have a price to pay when you die. So even in the Freemasonry aspect, where do you wear your apron? It's your root chakra. That's where your sexual parts are. You're taught to basically not masturbate, not deplete your life force energy, because when that oil, that sacred oil that goes up and down your spine, the 33 vertebrae, it's that colostrum oil that goes from your bottom all the way to the top until you reach the crown, the most high. That's why even when you look at the Egyptian pharaohs, they have the serpent coming out of their crowns, because that's your serpent energy coming from the bottom all the way to the top if you use it wisely. And that's what many people call the serpent eyes or the serpent wisdom. That's exactly what it is. So you have to work through the La ilaha illallah, basically from the bottom all the way to the top. And that is a responsibility that you are given. And in Freemasonry, circumscribe your desires within due bounds. Sufism is the same exact thing. So now we move on to being duly tested and tried. On the left-hand side, you have the Solomonari, and you look at this beggar, and he's holding a gavel, he's holding a Masonic book, which has like a double-headed eagle on it of Freemasonry. He's holding the staff, he's wearing the collar, he's wearing his entire regalia. And on the right-hand side, you have the Sufi beggar. Now, what happened to me when I went to Pakistan to visit a lot of these Sufi elders and shrines is I was running into these great masters, and they were outside just sitting like a beggar. And I'm thinking, why is that happening? And I realized you are being duly tested and tried, meaning if I walk past this person and he's going to ask me for food or water or money, he's going to realize and see, is this person really who he says he is? When you test him and try him when no one's looking. So that's when they see if you're going to pass the test or not. On the left-hand side, you have the Salominari, who are from Romanian mythology. And these are the same people that test and try you, and they come from the inner earth. They test you and try you, meaning if you pass your test, that's when they will open the blessings of God up to you. And it's just like when you become a master mason. So many random people start approaching you, hey man, can you help me out with a quarter? Can you help me out with a dollar? So those things are basically, those things are basically the aspects of divinity, which is testing you through those people. Because the Sufi will tell you that Allah will not himself come personally to talk to you. He will come and teach you through different vessels that are here, whether it's to test you through evil, whether it's to reward you with good, or test you with good, or to test you with these different beggars and people that come up to you that I need some food, can you help me out? I need water. So this what happened to me when I was in the East. These same people were popping out of nowhere. And this just blew my mind, thinking that most people in America, they're limited to their small-time lodge experiences. They don't know that the lessons of Freemasonry extend way beyond the lodge. And every day, you must pay your dues. It's not about just paying your dues financially. You pay your dues in more ways than one.
Teach.
And that's exactly what it is. Most people think, okay, I got a lodge notice, I got to pay my dues, and they'll send me my dues card, but you pay your dues in more ways than one. So now we have the master of the work, the sheikh and the worshipful master. Now, to be a Sufi sheikh, you have to memorize the Holy Quran, all 114 chapters, from front to back and back to front. And you must be able to recite that work without using a book. Same thing as the worshipful master. He's there as a master of the work. So basically, you have this responsibility. And the Sufi says that if you have Islam today, that's because it was handed down to you. So now many lodges in America I see are suffering greatly, where they have just enough people, barely, to open and close the lodge. And sometimes not even that, because people just don't have that desire anymore, because the original knowledge of Masonry was not given to them. Everything gets kind of lost in these fish fries and the social club stuff. People realize there's more to Freemasonry, what you experienced in America. Or if you really travel the world, you see how big this brotherhood really is. Meaning, I was in the border regions of India and Pakistan in 2019, where there was no cell phone signal. There was nothing like at least 20 to 30 miles in sight. And I still had people randomly approaching me, offering me their hand of friendship and brotherly love. That is what Freemasonry is. And if you're a traveling man, you'll go around all over the world, you'll see that most people that are limited in their mindsets about this Freemasonry thing, it's a lot bigger than some people's comprehension. And that's what the Sufi tells you, is that this tradition that's been passed down to you, you have to be a master of the work. So you weren't given Freemasonry today just because it was just handed down to you. It was those that put in the work, and you inherit the world from those who have fought for it. And it's your job right now in this time of chaos to make sure you pass it on the same manner. So basically, it's telling you to learn the work. Don't be lazy when it comes to learning the work. Because if not, then you're not going to get nothing out of Masonry. It's what you put in, it's what you'll get out of it. So now we move on to the aspect of darkness to light. Most people think, okay, there are about 7 to 8 billion people in the world, and only 7 million or 6 million are Freemasons. That is because that path of light into darkness to light and all that stuff, that is chosen by the Creator to guide you into the path that you're meant to walk. Thinking that when you think that,
please mute yourself.
oh, sorry, who is that? Everything good?
Yeah, everything good. That was Brother King Torres. I asked him to mute himself.
Got it. So yeah, so it tells you that Allah is the guardian of those who believe. He brings them out of the darkness into the light. This is from Surah 7, verse 199. Again, the lessons of Masonry. Trust God and not fear any danger. And He's the one that will bring you from darkness into the light. So you think that you're choosing a path sometimes, but ultimately it's the divinity that has chosen you and is leading you to that path that you're meant to walk. when things fall in place the way that they do, and you're right there, and that you're being initiated into the greater mysteries because you were chosen for it. If you were not chosen for it, then somehow, some way, you find your way out of it. So now we're given the story of being humble from Sheikh Abdul Qadir al-Jilani, the great Sufi master. On the left-hand side, you see Sheikh Abdul Qadir al-Jilani. And the story with him is he was walking in the market with his students, and there was a beggar that was sitting on the floor. And he told the students, when you look at that beggar is better than me. And the students said, Sheikh, why would you say that? And he said that overnight, Allah can put me in his position and put him in my position. Meaning you have to be humble in your lives because the grand architect of the universe, he turns sinners into saints and saints into sinners overnight. Your whole life, it can change in the flash of a second, and your whole world can turn upside down. Meaning if you're not giving thanks all the time for the things that you already have, what would you do if it was suddenly taken away from you? So you have to be humble with everything, whether it's your family, your job, your kids, the life and amenities you get provided, all of those things. And it's the aspect of the ego not getting the best of you. Don't let your ego defeat you. You got to let it go. You have to be humble, and you have to love each other. Now we go to the Kaaba in the holy city of Mecca in the east. On the right-hand side, you have the holy Kaaba in the holy city of Mecca in the east. And below the black clothing or the black covering, you see the perfect bricks, the perfect ashlar stones. Now, the cornerstone of this temple was laid by Abraham and his son, Ishmael, peace be upon them both, with a stone that fell from heaven. Some people call it a meteorite, some people call it a black stone. So already that cornerstone of the Kaaba symbolizes the house that is not made with hands, which the Freemasons always refer to. And inside of it, most people do not know, inside the Kaaba, you have an altar and you have the three pillars, meaning you have strength, beauty, and wisdom, the pillars of King Solomon's temple. And if you look at the Masonic tracing board, you'll see the three pillars and you see the ladder that's going up to the light. This is exactly what it is. You have the brothers that are going around in circular fashion, that are initiating themselves on this altar and pillars into the greater mysteries to exemplify the Kaaba, to become the perfect ashlar stone. What do we do with Freemasonry when the candidate is initiated? You have the three pillars, the three great lights, or the three altars. You have the aspect of the altar that looks like the Kaaba, the perfect ashlar stone, and they're taken around the altar, just like how a Muslim or a Sufi goes around the Kaaba to initiate himself. So whatever is followed in Masonry, Muslims and Sufism were already following it since day one, way before 1717. And you have the Ka, the aspect of the soul, the Ba, the Ka and the Ba, the three stages of the soul, the Ka, Ba, and the Ak. So we refer to each other as Aki. Hey, Aki, Assalamu alaikum, Ak. So you have to get to the third stage, which is to become a true, duly and tested tribe brother. The Ka and the Ba, which are the aspects of your soul, you must hone within yourself. And Ak is when you become a true brother. And again, you see the Muslim brothers dressed in all white, just like the lambskin innocence of a white Master Mason apron. They're going around the altar, initiating themselves, coming from darkness to light. You have the pillars and the altar inside. You have the perfect ashlar stone. The cornerstone of the temple represents the house not made with hands. And Freemasonry, they're following the same exact thing when they conduct their candidate, the rite of circumambulation. It's all there. It's the same exact thing. All right, so now we're moving on to how the Knights Templar interacted with the Sufis in the Holy Land. And what happens is when the Knights Templar encountered the Sufis, they were basically taught, they ran into the Al-Bana Sufi order, which is from Hassan Saba, the old man of the mountain, the assassins. And they basically told them that you have the cross, but we will teach you the meaning of the cross. Meaning if you fold up the cross, it becomes a cube, the perfect ashlar stone of the Kaaba. and they were initiated by the Moorish and the Assassin and Sufi brothers into the inner mysteries. Christian Rosenkreutz was initiated into the inner mysteries, and they took that knowledge back with them to Europe. And when they went back to Europe, they were accused of worshiping Baphomet, which is a bastardization of Mahomet. So they were accused of worshiping Muhammad in secret. And what day were they persecuted on? On a Friday, which is a holy day for Islam, for Muslims. That's when they were persecuted, on a Friday. So the Knights Templar, as you see on the top of their heads, they're wearing the wool. And the wool represents their tribute to the Sufis. Many of them don't even know this. That why is there the wool on top of my head? That represents the purity. Suf, Safwa, the wearers of wool, purity, the Sufis. And that's basically, there are Sufi Knights Templar, because one of the founders of the Knights Templar, his grandfather was a Moorish Sufi. And there are even European Masons who have confirmed this exact statement that I'm making. So on the left-hand side, you have the aspect of the Sufi. And on the bottom, because the Sufis and the Templars, they dress the same in white and red. Same thing with the Assassins. Even if you play the video games, you will see the aspect of the white and red sash. On the bottom, you have the Assassin's Brotherhood. Now, most people say, just like how the Knights Templar were disbanded in France, they went underground. And most people know that they didn't go extinct. They're still around today. So the Assassins, many Islamic circles will tell you that they still exist today. So many people would think that the Mongols wiped them out or whatever happened, but they still exist today. So it's still the same people fighting against the same people. And on the surface, you'll be given a different story, but on the interior, there's a whole nother game that's going on. On the bottom right, you see this, basically the sign of fidelity. Now, many people would say that those that do the hidden hand symbol, they put their hand inside of their jacket, and this is the exact symbol that even Noble Duly does from the Moorish Science Temple of America.
I got a question for you.
Yes,
and
sir.
We're going to come back to it in just a minute. I'm getting a lot of questions over here in the chat on the YouTube channel. So as soon as we're done, I got people asking about the very thing that you're talking about, the Science Moorish Temple, Elijah Muhammad, their connection with Freemasonry, that whole thing. So those questions are definitely coming. So just so you'll be aware.
I got it.
Okay.
So, yeah, so what happens is you're given a story. When you look at the 1717 origin story, you're taught that, okay, it started with the stone builders in the medieval Europe who were building these great cathedrals. And anytime any esoteric or Masonic knowledge is mentioned, only the Greeks or from the Eurocentric point of view, that's given credit. So that's not true. All of this stuff was already being taught to them from the East, and they took it from the East to the West. And that's exactly what it is. So now we have the Arabic numbers, because even in English society, even in America, we're using Arabic numerals. If you look at if you go to gematria, which is the numerical value of each word, and if you enter the word Freemasonry with the Jewish cipher, that comes up as 787. And if you look at the Arabic numbers, what does the 787 look like? That's the square and the compass. And this was written outside of Moorish and Sufi lodges when the Knights Templars were studying with these great masters in the Middle East and Africa at that time of the Holy Wars, and even before and after that. Now, what does 787 symbolize in Islam? That is the numerical value of Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful. So when I looked at the square and compass, I'm like, I realized, do these people even know they're walking around with Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim in the back of their cars? Because everything is for God, by God, and under God. That is the Masonic path. That is the Sufi path, the fatherhood of God and the brotherhood of man. So everything in Freemasonry or Sufi sciences resemble the aspect of loving God and loving each other. So now we have the aspect of eating the word of God, the haka. In ancient Egypt and Kemet, they called it haka, to eat the word of God and to do zikrs. Because right now we're living in a time of great spiritual deception. There's a lot of chaos that's going on, and it's very important for you to have some kind of a spiritual practice or spiritual discipline in your life. A spiritual discipline is very needed and important in your life. Meaning, if you're a Sufi, You could do La ilaha illallah. You could do Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, and put a word salad around yourself as words are expelled, and you're manifesting that protection around yourself. If you're a Christian brother, do the Lord's Prayer 100 times a day. That Lord's Prayer will manifest around you like a spell of protection. And I know even Brother Tony has given reverence to the Lord's Prayer in one of his videos.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So it's the same aspect of find what works for you in the Haka and in the Zikr, and have that aspect of spiritual discipline. Because in Freemasonry, you are given the tools and the knowledge, but there's also the time of application. Okay, now where do I apply this knowledge to myself? And it's very important that you have a guide as well, because you cannot walk this path alone. You need some kind of a shape, a mentor, worshipful master, those kind of things to guide you and educate you. And at the same time, have the proper companionship and the spiritual discipline to survive these times that we're currently in. So again, whether you're doing the Buddhist prayers, you're doing the Lord's prayers, you're doing the Islamic Sufi prayers, everything is about intent. If your intent is pure, whatever you put out there, it will create around you. So now we go to the aspect of the magic carpet. When you look at a lot of the Western movies and symbolisms and cartoons, every time they portray the carpet, they're portrayed as the magic carpet which flies around. Now you look at the Islamic prayer rug, it is the shape of an oblong square, which is just like how the lodge is. Most of the like Masonic symbolism goes around the oblong square and the shape of the oblong square. And it's telling you that you are the temple. You're looking for answers over here, over there, over here. But when's the last time you looked inside yourself? God is playing hide and seek with you. And you're gonna find God in a place where you least expect, which is inside of you. So when you go onto the prayer rug, what is the first thing you're taught? Take off your shoes. When you go to the masjid, what's the first thing you see outside is a pile of shoes. Take off your shoes because you're about to walk on holy ground. Now, does that sound familiar for the Freemason brothers? And when you put your foot on this carpet and you start praying and you see the Kaaba, the perfect ashlar stone on the bottom, you see the pillars and the archway of initiation portrayed on the Islamic prayer rugs, you're uplifting your soul, because when you're in a state of prayer and meditation, you're uplifting yourself to the acceptance and love of the Most High in whichever way you perceive that divinity. So it's telling you meditation, prayer, having a guide, proper spiritual discipline, the aspect of application of knowledge, all those things are super important. It's not about just attending a lodge meeting or going to a fish fry. There's more to the stuff than that. You got to find it within yourself. So that's basically what it's showing you. And even the people in the Western occult societies know this. That's why they always portrayed the magic carpet in Aladdin. As soon as you got on the carpet, you started flying high into the heavens, because it was the aspect of prayer that took you into the heavens and strengthened you. So now we have the Islamic and Masonic connection to America. Now, most people, when they see on the left-hand side, that is the banner of the Kingdom of Hawaii from the 1500s, 200 plus years before even America existed. And what do you see on there? You see two Muslims, dark skin, wearing the red fez, wearing the red clothes, and they're holding up the banner of the Kingdom of Hawaii.
Wow, that's nice.
Hawaii, Brother Tony, is the only state in America that every September, it's a mandated state holiday. They have an Islam Day holiday. And most people in America don't even know that.
Wait, time out. You said once a year, there's a mandated holiday in Hawaii, and it's an Islamic day.
That's right. It's in September of every year. It's known as Islam Day, and it's a mandated state holiday, and they recognize it and observe it. And that's the only state in America that has it, and nobody even knows why and for what reason. So, and as you see, as what I showed you with the banner of Kingdom of Hawaii, that those people of a dark complexion were already here. So when they tell you to go back to Africa, you were already here. And it shows you the aspect of this banner of the Muslims and the king of Hawaii, who was himself an Islamic Shriner. And as you see in Freemasonry with the Shriners and the grottos and all this stuff, even aspects of Scottish Rite, some of their degrees, they're all giving reverence to Islam and Sufism. On the bottom right, you have the letter of George Washington to Muhammad ibn Abdullah, the Sultan of Morocco. Who was the first that recognized America? It was the Sultan and the Kingdom of Morocco. And he gives thanks to him, that thank you for allowing us over your dominions. So what does he mean by that, if Morocco recognized them first? And this is from City of New York, December 1st, 1789. What do you see in the John Wick movies? You see when he goes, he's dressed as a Mason with a suit. He goes from the west to the east.
He does.
When he sees the elders in the east, what is the first thing the elder tells him? My son, why have you been so lost to me? And what is my son? Mason, my son. Because those that fell out of favor with the brethren of the east were banished to wander in the darkness in the west. And that's when he works his way back to the east to tell him to please tell the assassins to leave me alone. So even though Hollywood is telling you that the hidden masters are not the Rockefellers or the Rothschilds, the hidden masters are still a lot of these Moorish, Sufi, and Islamic societies that exist in the East. Because there are people that you can Google, and there are people that don't exist that you can't Google. There are the people that run the show. So even Hollywood kind of shows you the truth in that movie. My son, why have you been so lost from me? And he gives him the knowledge and wisdom, and he comes back enlightened from the East back to the West to fulfill his purpose. And on the bottom up, you have Jamal al-Afghani, the old man of the mountain. Even Madame Blavatsky from the Theosophy Society was taught by him. And she refers to him as Serapis Bey. And Jamal al-Afghani was also part of the group of these hidden masters of the East who even traveled to America to uplift what we know as the fallen Negro, to tell them that you're not black, you're not this, you were already here. So if you go through the American education system, would they even tell you any of this stuff? No. So you have to basically come to your own realization. So now we go to Saladin and Richard the Lionheart. Now most people are given the example of Masons in the American Civil War. When they recognized each other as brother Masons, they spared each other's lives. And with Saladin and Richard the Lionheart, it was the same exact thing. Anytime Richard was in trouble, Saladin helped him out. Anytime Saladin was in any kind of issue, Richard helped him out. So it goes to show you that this world and this reality that we're dealing with, it's not what you really think that it is. Just like how you see modern conflicts taking place now, where all of these leaders go on TV show and they're all making statements against each other. How do you know that they're initiates of probably the same esoteric schools, right? Just like how you had Bush and Kerry. They were both part of Skull and Bones, but on stage, they were pretending to be against each other.
Yep.
So this world is a stage. This world is a stage, and we're all actors upon it. And this is exactly the world that we're dealing with. So it's telling you that at the same time, you give reverence to your brotherhood, but not take many of this show seriously. It's like WWE, that they're fighting on stage, but as soon as they get backstage, they have a good laugh and a good drink over it all.
That is so true.
That's exactly what it is, and it's the same thing today. So turn the TV off. You don't need to give any more energy to it. So now we have the aspect of the Scottish Rite degrees. You look on the left, you have the Knight of St. Andrews, who resembles the Sufi Islamic knight. So you have the knight at the top, and the green symbolizes the field of Islam. And those that have been through those degrees know that in there you are taught how Sufis and Knights Templars learn from each other, just like with the 17th degrees of the Scottish Rite. Same thing, the symbol of the Scottish Rite, Spes me in Dio es, my faith is in God. And why is the double-headed eagle? Because it tells you that Allah is the Lord of the East and the West. When you give your salams after finishing your salat, you give salam to the East, to the West, and to know that God is in each direction. Knowing wherever you find knowledge, in whichever capacity, you embrace it and apply it to your life. Know thyself. Holy Quran tells you that if you want to find Allah, He is closer to you than your jugular vein. And the Sufi proverb says that I searched for God and found only myself. I searched for myself and found only God. So again, it's you. You have to hone yourself. You have to improve yourself. You're looking for answers here and there, but it's you. So if I tell these brothers out here in Philadelphia, because the crime rate in Philly has been atrocious where I'm at, and I go out and tell these brothers that if you're hurting this person, you know in reality you're killing yourself. Because in reality, we're all this one being manifested in these different avatars. What kind of mind would somebody need to comprehend that truth? If I tell them that if you're helping him, you're helping yourself. If you're killing him, you're killing yourself. If you're hurting him, you're hurting yourself. And that is exactly the truth that many of us have gotten lost about, this idea of separation. We have to come together in unison again. And that's why it says in the Quran, those that have saved one person, they've saved all of humanity. Because in reality, you're dealing with the same being. And on top of, when you hurt somebody, you hurted all of humanity. So in reality, it's like Mr. Rogers with the puppets talking to each other. So this is me and all of us who are projected into these avatars, but in reality, it's connected. Those two hands are connected to the same body. That's basically the grand architect, what the Sufi says, Allah, who is this perfect treasure that's trying to understand itself through itself. And you have the God gene within you. Most people don't know this aspect of chromosome and why certain experiments are done on humanity, because the God gene is within you. We made humanity in our image and in our likeness. So the truth is already being pointed to you in many ways. You have to find out what reality is there is really going on. And the aspect of good and evil coming from the creator. Meaning when you're dealing with the darkness and you're dealing with the light, you're in reality dealing with the same being who's projected himself into two separate forms to test you and try you, through darkness and through light, through the left-hand path or the right-hand path. So the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, the widow's son, says that all mankind is from Adam and Eve. An Arab has no superiority over a non-Arab, nor a non-Arab has any superiority over an Arab. A white has no superiority over a black, nor a black has any superiority over a white, except by piety and good action. So in Islam, you're already taught, in Sufism, just like Freemasonry, to respect each other as brothers, be on the level, judge each other by the content of your characters and not by the color of your skin, which is a message that's still needed in today's world, especially in America. And to tell everybody that one race does not have a monopoly over humanity, or one people or one religion does not have any monopoly over humanity. Everyone are equal brethren of the level because we come from the same source. And I hope once in my lifetime, I'm 29 years old, I'll be 30 by this summer, and I hope in my lifetime I can see that happen. And I will continue to labor towards that, inshallah. So now we have the aspect of Masonic architecture. So if Islam or Sufism or Moorish science had no influence on Freemasonry, then why do we have Masonic buildings that are portrayed in that fashion? So on the right-hand side, this is here in the Grand Lodge of Pennsylvania, here in Philadelphia, where I'm at. They have a room called the Oriental Room, which gives a tribute to the Sufis and the Muslims and the Moors. And as you see, this looks like a masjid, the lodge room. So you have the masjid, you have the altar resembling the Kaaba, the three pillars of the altar. Candidate is initiated, they take them around the altar. A Muslim who goes around Kaaba, it's the same exact thing that's happening for those that know what's going on. So basically, you have this aspect of the Alhambra. So when the Moors were in Spain, they were educating many of the people in the West who were coming to these schools of Renaissance and the Moorish and Islamic and Sufi teachings that brought Europe from darkness into the light. And when you see even the graduation ceremonies in the Western world, they're wearing like those loose Islamic clothing. That is basically telling you that you graduated. And so you dress like a Sufi even in your graduation with the loose Islamic type clothing.
Wow.
Most people in the West don't even know that. If you look at the Scottish Rite commanders in Freemasonry, he's wearing the loose Islamic clothing as part of his official uniform. So again, it's all there. It was already being taught by the Moors and the Sufis and the Muslims. What was then rebranded as their own and not giving credit to those masters of the East. And they're still very much around. They just don't say anything because they know everything comes full circle, as we see with this paradigm of what we know as the white supremacy system breaking down day by day. And there are even some good white brothers and sisters that I have come across who fight against that hegemony. So it will be their own people from the inside, including many of us, that will fight to change the system. So on the left-hand side, you also have the Faisal Masjid in Pakistan. So in my home country of Pakistan, in the main capital of Islamabad, you have the King Faisal Mosque. This was constructed by a Sufi Masonic brother from Turkey named Duly. And as you see right at the entrance, you see the square, you see the pillars, the compasses, the crescent, and everything. It's a Masonic architecture. That's the Masonic masjid in an Islamic country. So all of this stuff is already there. You have a Masonic Grand Lodge that has an Islamic style room. So it's all there. So again, it's all about the teachings of God, about going around, becoming one with the Creator, doing the right thing with the time that you've been given, and initiating yourself into the higher mysteries. My thanks to Brother Tony and all of the brethren that joined this call. For those that came in late, please watch the recording of everything that I covered from the beginning until the end to get a better understanding. All images used belong to their respective owners, and I do not claim any ownership. This is for the fair use of copyright and education purpose and nonprofit. Again, for any of the haters out there, I represent myself only. I represent no grand law statements or opinions in case anybody tries to give me a hard time as a regular recognized Mason and being on Brother Tony's platform. So I thank you. Much love to all of you, and I'm open to Q&A now.
All right, man. This chat has been blowing up. So let me go back over here real quick. So I'm gonna start over here with the brothers who are on the Zoom. If you got questions right now, somebody can go ahead and start.
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, Brother Vaughn.
Assalamu alaikum, Akeem.
Walaikum assalam, my brother.
Shukran, mashallah. I just wanted to ask, what 3 verses do you recommend for the first, second, and third degree?
Yeah, so for the
I'll
first,
just keep it real simple like that. I won't add any more to it, but you know what I'm talking about.
yes, definitely. So the first degree, you can use the aspect of what I use of Allah bringing you from darkness to light. And that's basically telling you that when you walk this path, that is what brings you from darkness to light. Is the Creator. When you have Surah 7, verse 199, where it tells you Allah is the guardian of those who believe. He brings them out of the darkness into the light. So in the first degree, that's what you're basically taught, is that not fear anything, trust God, and know that you're being initiated into the higher mysteries. The second verse of the
I think he sort of froze on that one. Well, he'll probably come back. I can barely hear him. Hopefully he can come back and finish up that question there, Brother Vaughn, because that's a good one as far as learning, because, you know, in our jurisdiction, we offer brother
that I could like to use for the fellowcraft. In the fellowcraft degree,
Brother Salam, you're going to have to go back because you froze up on us. I don't know if he can hear us or not. I may have to ask him to call in when he has his chance.
Recording stopped.
Did I lose him? He may have to come back on because the recording has stopped. He might have to come back in. But we're going to continue with the questions at hand. Now, I don't know everything about Sufi. Oh, there you go. Okay. Yeah.
To finish my answer to the brother, so in the aspect of the Master Mason, you are given the words that both good and evil come from Allah. We test you with both good and evil, and to us you shall be returned. So for the third degree, it tells you that you are going to get tested with good and evil, just like how you have the black and white trials. And then one day you will die in this life. You got to pay a price for your actions. when you go to the other side and be in the aspect of being judged by the Most High. So first degree, darkness to light. Second degree is giving reverence to God. And the third degree is being reminded of your mortality and knowing that both good and evil come from God, and that one day you have to leave this earth.
All right. Let me see what we got over here on the chat. Brother was asking over here in the chat in regards to Elijah Muhammad and Noble Drew Ali in regards to Freemasonry. Do you know anything in regards to that?
Yeah, so if you look at Prophet Noble Drew Ali, he was also an initiate of the mysteries, not just here in the West, but also in the East. And where he was headquartered at in Chicago, that's where all of the movers and shakers of Chicago were, in that one building where he had situated himself. So many of the brothers, they see the power of Freemasonry, just like Jamal El-Afghani. And when many people ask Jamal El-Afghani, why are you a Mason? And they asked, and he replied that it helps me further my cause. It helps me gain access to certain social situations, people's places and things, which I wouldn't have if I wasn't a Mason. So that's what the same manner that Prophet Noble Drew Ali used it, the same manner that Elijah Muhammad used it. So it's about the intent. If your intent is pure, then Allah, the Most High, He knows what you're doing, why you're doing it. It's like many people in the Islamic community, they give me flack about my affiliations with Freemasonry. And I tell them, I see this as a venue where I can bring people together and educate them about what the Prophet Muhammad taught us about the one ummah, to bring people together. I wouldn't have access to white people, Jews, Christians, other people if I wasn't a Mason. So this organization is serving some kind of a purpose for me. And if I wasn't a Mason, I wouldn't be here right now with you, teaching and learning from my brothers in return, and also educating them also in this reciprocation that we're having. So it serves a great purpose for those that have the eyes to see it.
All right. Anybody else got a question over on the Zoom? Brother Martin, you good?
Peace. Really, I mean, I got a lot of questions, more like compliments than anything, because, I mean, brother did answer a lot of questions that even if I did ask him, he already answered them. And so really, I just want to compliment that brother on everything that he said. Oh yeah, but since you did put it out there, Grandmaster Hawkins, I did hear the brother mention about the Moorish influence and the Alhambra and Granada. I like the fact that he mentioned the Moorish influence on Europe in general. One thing I did not know that I did have a question on is Saladin, and King Richard, King Lion Richard III, because I know that was during the time of the Third Crusade. So, and this is about the time where the European forces are unifying and coming together. And then this is when you see Aragon and Castile and all these other European forces uniting under that, this is when you see a lot of good things going on, and, people trying to reclaim the Holy Land, right? So, I was like, wow, man, this brother is very, very educated.
Islam, bro. Islam, my brother.
So, but I did not know that Richard Lionheart was a Freemason.
Yep, they were all Masons, including Saladin, and I myself am a 32nd degree Scottish Rite here from Philadelphia. And many of the degrees you are taught how the Sufis and the Knights Templar interacted with each other and how they learned from each other. So it's all there, whether the Eurocentric Masons want to give it credit or not. It's all in front of you, and Allah is the one who will always bring the truth out into the light, no matter how much somebody tries to hide it.
That's right. That's peace for Brother Hotep. And one thing I can say, another thing that I want to mention. Hold on, let me go back, because you had so many good things, and I'm gonna have to go back and be quick about it. So other brother, oh yeah, I think this was the 17th degree, the Knight of St. Andrew. You said that there was a Sufi Muslim influence in the 7th degree. You said so
that's the 26th.
Oh, the 26th degree. I'm glad you correcting me on that. Thank you, beloved. So this is in the 26th degree, and the one thing I didn't know, and now that I'm starting to read in Causenade's More Than Dogma, is that Scottish Rite is not so Scottish. And you know, and I'm starting to see the West Indies origin and everything like that. So what is the connection in that degree in Scottish Rite, since nobody's talking about this? What is that connection in a small synopsis?
So basically, to make a simple answer, Freemasonry in the West is basically Islam for people in the West, with the identity of Freemasonry. Just like I said, and you go to the Holy City of Mecca, they're going around the altar with the altar and the pillars inside the Kaaba. They're doing the same exact thing here. They're taught to trust Allah, become believers, become part of a brotherhood, give reverence to all faiths. This was already taught to the Europeans by the Sufis and the Moors and all those that were already there practicing this knowledge since day one. So all of this, it comes from there. But then again, those that want to give it credit and those that see it in plain sight, they see it.
My question would be, why is it so difficult to give the credit when you know? And this is the importance. Even I often say, you know, as an apprentice, you're taught to occupy your mind with useful knowledge. It did not limit you in the knowledge process. And then when brothers do the work and do see what Freemasonry is all about from the studies and readings, they get a lot of kickback, because then when they find out for themselves and they go and introduce and they say, look, this is what I found, you find there's some resistance in what they have found when you've told them to go and search.
Exactly. Well, see, you know, with our Eurocentric brothers, they're always going to show stuff that makes them look good and feel good. So you have Pythagoras, you have the Romans and the Greeks. But where did they stole all of that from? It was from Kemet, from Africa, from the Moors, from the Sufis. It all comes from there. So when the Greeks were in Egypt, they had refused. Like when somebody comes to America, they tell them, you know, you got to speak English. So when a lot of these people were there in Kemet, they had refused to integrate themselves into the Egyptian language system, and they refused to learn the languages, meaning other people had to accommodate themselves to them. So what makes you think that the knowledge and the books that were already there, they didn't just rebrand it as their own? Just like how, you know, you have Aristotle, who I call Aristotle. How did he come out with all of these books? They stole it. They A squared plus B squared, C squared, Pythagoras being initiated into the mystery systems. It was already there. But again, it's the conquerors that write the history.
That is true. The conquerors do write it.
That's what it is.
Let's see. Allah is great, peace be upon him. That's Malcolm Prophet. Allah Akbar by Free to Be Me. And let me see. How do we know Saladin was initiated?
Who was it?
I think it's Saladin.
Okay, so if you go see again, there's a lot of knowledge which has been not given being in this country, and myself traveling the world and dealing with different Sufi and Masonic circles in the East, and actually seeing this from myself is if you go into these circles, they will tell you who the initiates were. And that's exactly what it is. I mean, there's no Masonic historian or Masonic book, because of course they're going to approach it from the Western point of view. They're not going to talk about any of these things. So you really have to go out there and see for yourself. It's just like Hollywood telling you the truth about John Wick. This Mason who goes from the West to the East, and he's crossing the burning sands, right, to find the elders of the East. And who's the one that picks him up? It's the Moor with the red turban who puts him on the horse and takes him to the elders. So that's exactly what it is. It shows you that that system is still there. But are they going to talk about it in any history book? Are they going to talk about it in any encyclopedia? They're not going to.
This is why it's very important. I said this a long time ago. I said all the great ones became initiates. I mean, they all went through the system. I mean, you can call it whatever you want to call it. All to me, from what I've found in my readings, all the great ones went through it.
Indeed. I mean, even if you read Albert Pike's book, Morals and Dogma, and you look at page 202 of Morals and Dogma, he calls the Buddha, Siddhartha Gautama, the Buddha from India, as the first Masonic legislator in history in the East. Why? Why? Because he was able to bring all the caste systems of India under one unity. And even when I go to India and the aspects of Pakistan, the indigenous descendants of the African Moorish kings that had ruled those lands are still there. I go to Karachi, I go to different cities. There are people, dark-skinned, curly-haired people, bronze-skinned, copper-colored-skinned, curly-haired people that were there. And even if you read the definition of an American from the Webster Dictionary, 1858, it tells you that an American is a dark-skinned, copper-colored skinned individual. And that definition now applies to the descendants of the European settlers.
What year is that? What year is that dictionary?
Webster, 1858.
Old books are something else, aren't they?
And then after that, you know, you never saw it again.
Oh, wow. Man, you're giving me so much material to do a show on. I'm going to look that up. That's going to be a show. I ain't kid you not. That's going to be one.
And another thing, Brother Tony, I want to reiterate, it's like what you mentioned the other day in the Lord's Prayer video that you did. So it's not just the Sufi or the Moorish or Islamic path, but any path that helps you become a better human being and close to Allah, you follow it. So whether you're doing the Sufi zikrs, like I'm saying, La ilaha illallah, Muhammad Rasulullah, Bismillah Rahman Rahim, I'm saying this stuff 1,000 times, 10,000 times a day. You can also do the same with the Lord's prayers, because those words are spells. You're manifesting that into a protection, spiritual protection for yourself. And right now we're living in great times of spiritual struggle. But right now it's important that you have some kind of a spiritual discipline. So I wanted to thank you about making that video about the Lord's Prayer.
You check that out? Oh, well, I feel privileged. The mere fact that you, bruh, I thank you. Thank you. No doubt about it. Is there any more questions before? We've been on here now about a couple hours, 2 hours. That's not bad. Is there any more questions, whether it be on the chat or even in the Zoom? I see Brother Charles, Coach Lewis over here hanging out with us. That's another brother of mine. Let me see. Love you. Got Brother Salam on the show. Did the Turkish white breed have a direct influence on Freemasonry?
Please repeat that question again.
Okay, I'm gonna put it over here in the chat.
Let me see. And again, anyone that came in late, please watch the recording of this talk from the beginning till the end, so you get the full gist of everything that I've explained.
Do you see it now? Or is it in the chat?
Oh, thank you, Brother Glenn. Yeah, that's true, because if you go to the East, whether you look at the laws of Mayat, so many people even refer to the Freemasons as the sons of Mayat from Kemet.
I've heard that.
So because you're following those laws or principles that you have to love each other, don't hurt each other, brotherhood, unity, charity, all those kind of things. So any of these philosophies that you see from ancient Africa, the Near East, Asia, even if you look at Chinese culture, the Confucianism, they have their gods known as Nuba and Fuxi, holding the square and compasses, recreating the world. So whether you're looking at the Chinese cultures, the African cultures, Middle Eastern cultures, Turkish, all of this stuff was already being practiced by all of these different cultures for hundreds upon thousands of years. So this breaks the whole 1717 origin story about the stone builders of Europe. All that stuff was already there. They just took it from there and repackaged it as their own.
I have another question in the chat for you.
What are his thoughts on Al-Farabi? Yeah, so all of these great teachers like Al-Farabi, Ibn Arabi. Ibn Arabi was even in Spain, where the Moors were. And you have Baba Muhyiddin, Sheikh Abdul Qadir al-Jilani, all of these great teachers that have walked this earth. They're all teaching you the same thing. Find Allah within yourself and love each other and respect each other. Like Ibn Arabi tells you, that only Allah can worship Allah. What does it mean by that? That means it's all of us manifested in these different avatars. It's you. You just got to realize that. You got to find that within yourself. And then the graces of the Most High will be open for you. Because when you're walking this path, it's just like the realms of knowledge, the jinns and angels, everything will come and test you. So when you're getting back to nature, you're doing your practices, you're doing your zikrs, you'll have these old friends that will start popping up. Hey man, you remember we used to go to the club, we used to go chase women. That's the shaitan that's coming after you. He wants to sever that connection that you made with the creator. So you have to resist yourself. You have to resist yourself and you have to circumscribe your desires on this path. And know that the sooner you get into this path, it's like it gets harder. It gets harder and harder and harder. So you must keep yourself composed. That's exactly what it is. And, thanks to Brother Coach Lewis in the chat, who said that essentially there's nothing new under the sun. So yeah, all of this stuff was being taught by the black and brown people of the world before anybody else.
So my question would be, where do you get to take on the mere fact of someone saying, okay, in order to practice this, you have to come this way. You have to come by me in order to practice this, which you was actually doing long before where we're at right now.
Well, see, that's another form of. Now, this is my opinion. I'm on a private platform. I represent no brand law statements or opinion. This is my opinion on this private platform as a free man. But that's just another form of white supremacy and white hegemony. Because myself, as a regular recognized Mason, I've reached out to many of these platforms and podcasts, like White Brothers, and they won't have me on their show. I go to a lot of these Facebook groups. They won't allow me in there. They won't. They have my posts that I make. They always have it in pending. They never approve my posts. They don't let me into the groups. So even if I'm regular recognized in their eyes, I'm still seen as an outsider to them. So some people, they're never going to accept you. So that's just what it is, that you have to learn how to uplift yourself and your own people and not worry about anybody else's approval. Because that's what Allah tells you too. Come from darkness to light, not fear any danger, and just keep doing what you're doing. You don't need their acceptance. If the ones that do, it's great. But then again, why are they called free and accepted? They were given that knowledge. Where does the word Slav come from? Slaves. So once the knowledge was bestowed upon them, they were free and accepted. So,
you're going down a rabbit hole, and I might want to follow you down that rabbit hole. Bro, you just threw a pearl out there. I hope somebody caught that. Bruh, that was neatly done. I'd have been raggedy with it, but you, bruh, that was so neatly done. That was neatly done.
Thank you, my brother.
Oh, no doubt about it.
For those who got it, it's all yours.
Yeah, bruh. Ooh, yeah, that was a curve. I caught it though. One brother, iSun360 said that was a jewel. He said that was a jewel. Thank you. Is there any more questions? Anybody else? What's up, Dietrich? What you got? You got any questions? I know, Brother Morpheus. What you got, Brother Morpheus? Everybody's quiet.
I don't have no question, man. I just want to get that email so I can go back on.
That's right.
That thing was heavy, man.
Thank you, Brother Morpheus. Inshallah, this will be posted. The recording will be posted on Brother Tony's channel. So anyone who missed the lecture from beginning to the end up until this point, the live stream and everything will be on Brother Tony's channel, inshallah.
There you go. Well, look, I don't have anything else to add. I've gotten a lot of knowledge myself tonight. I'm pretty full. I'm not going to lie to you. I mean, I'm going to have to go back and watch this over. This is going to be good for a long, nice drive. I'm telling you the truth. This is that video. You put the plugs in and you drive. That's this video. I mean, that's this podcast. This whole thing is geared towards that way. This is, I'm letting you know, this is that one.
Thank you, Brother Tony. And I also wanted to get your permission because on my YouTube channel, I have a lot of regular recognized brothers. If I could, once this is uploaded, put it on my channel as well to reciprocate this energy that was conducted tonight.
Bro, look, you have my blessings. Do the thing. I mean, this is what this channel is all about. I get heated, bro. I make some comedy stuff. I do, but really, this is what it's all about. I mean, in the end, I mean, for those who are on here, there's some Prince Hall brothers on here. I hadn't said anything. They know exactly who I am, and do your thing, bro. You can upload this and just share it. I mean, because this is really what it's all about.
Shukran.
So with that being,
Anybody else have any questions?
Anybody else?
Comments?
Bruce, you good?
Yeah, salam alaikum, my brother.
Walaikum assalam, brother Bruce.
Hey man, I just want to thank you for I got in on the tail end. I'm kind of working tonight, so I kind of missed about an hour. So yeah, I just need I didn't get that old PowerPoint you threw in there. There's a lot of good information, especially me seeing about the Kaaba, the inside of it. That I didn't know about, and how you is related to how the lodge is set up, and just showing how they all are really it's all one. It really is all one. It's just we get it from different aspects, from the east to the west, but it still represents all one. So yeah, I appreciate the knowledge, man. You know, you basically free my mind. Yeah, you free my mind on that one.
Thank you, my brother. And yeah, again, when this is uploaded, you watch the whole thing from the beginning to the end, and you catch the whole PowerPoint. And one of the aspects of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is al-ahad, meaning that everything is one. No matter what path you follow in your life. So if I'm here in Philadelphia, there are 6 ways for me to get to New York City. I can get in a car, I can get in a plane, I can get in a bus, I can catch the train. No matter which path I take, it's all taking me to the same destination.
All right.
So it's all one, my brother. The main thing is about the purity of your heart. If your heart is pure, then you're already in the graces of the Most High, no matter what faith you follow.
There you go.
Because unfortunately, in today's world, you have many of those that are serving their own ego and hubris and thinking that they're serving God in some way. But in reality, it's like what many of my Sufi brothers tell me is that the real devils and demons are sometimes in the religious communities.
Ooh.
So you have to find that truth within yourself. You got to find Allah within yourself and know that if you are not pure, then you will not be with the graces of the Most High. It's about purity of the heart. Everything else, what are you taught in Masonry? First place you're made in Mason is in your heart. And this doesn't get simpler than that.
Sure doesn't.
Yeah, one of my old pastors used to say, "It's gonna take the God in you to believe the God in heaven."
He's right. He told you the truth.
It's spirit. Yeah.
Check out the chat there, brother. Brother Glenn just posted.
Oh, thank you, brother Glenn. I send my love to you in the UK, and I send you my blessings and prayers in return. So where exact location are you in the UK? If you send me an email, I'll find out what exact city and town in the UK you are, and I'll put you in touch with Sufi brothers over there. So I'll put my email in the chat. You take my email down, send me an email, and I'll get you in touch with the right people. Because it's just like finding the right lodge. When you join Freemasonry, they ask you, where do you live? And they connect you to your local lodge. Same thing with Sufism. You got to find out where he is and connect him with the right people.
All right. It's true. It's true. Man, this has been awesome. I like to say this, you know, a brother told me a long time ago, and I started adding it to the end of the show, is to tell you that, look, I am not your study guide, but I'm here to help you study. So with that being said, I like to say also stay out the bushes and keep your light on. I don't have anything else to add. Brother Junior, you all right? Yeah, you, Fred. Yes, you okay?
Oh, I'm all right.
Okay, just checking in on you.
I just had wanted to ask the question. Was it not the Sufi the one that was the architect of the Dome of the Rock?
Sorry, brother, please repeat that again. Excuse me.
were the Sufi brethren, were they the architects of the Dome of the Rock?
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. So the Temple Mount, what you see in Jerusalem, it was the Sufi brothers that are basically created that whole thing from top to bottom. That's where King Solomon or Nabi Sulaiman, Prophet Suleiman, that's where he's housed and buried, and he's protected by Sufi families, his burial site. So that is exactly true.
The epoch of the third degree is not taken from these brothers. They actually have a secret ceremony. And they also connect the third degree of the machination of what we call the epoch. It is not taken from these exact same Sufi brothers.
Yeah, that's exactly how it is. It's all about finding the aspect of unity in you, that unity and love between you, and knowing the mortality of life, knowing that Allah has given you this one life. What are you going to do with it? Are you going to waste your time and do bad deeds, or are you here to do good things for yourself, for others? Use your time wisely. So again, it comes back to that question of the mortality and how long you have left here, and what actions will you take with your free will.
I just posted. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No,
I was just I'm out here kind of close to you. I'm in Baltimore, Maryland.
Oh, okay, so you're not too far away from me.
Far away from you.
Inshallah, I hope Allah brings us together one day so I can meet you in person.
Hope so too.
Inshallah. And I also want to give a shout out to brother Salim Hakim from Prince Hall 57. It was because of him I got in touch with brother Tony. So if it wasn't for him, this wouldn't have happened tonight. So give credit where it's due.
I mentioned your show. I seen you on another podcast with some brothers, and you was breaking this down so heavy. So I mentioned the fact that I'd asked the audience. I said, have anybody heard of Sufi Freemasonry? And they was like, "What is that?" I was like, "Oh, it's real. It's real." You know. So for him to reach out and make this connection, he knows how much I appreciate what he's done. Because he was hitting me up. He was like, "Would you like to have him on your podcast?" I was like, "Yeah, if you can make it happen." And here you are. So I certainly appreciate that.
Thank you, my brother. And look, even that platform that I was on, that is created by regular and recognized brothers, and they're allowing women to be on there. They're allowing everyone to be on there, regardless of this whole clandestine debate. Because even regular recognized brothers are tired of not being taught the knowledge inside of the lodges. So they're kind of doing their own thing now. So I'm glad that it's very refreshing to see, honestly.
Okay. I catch them on early in the morning for me. I'm like at work, and it's late at night for them.
Right.
So I kind of catch them, and they have a real good podcast. As a matter of fact, I'm going to try to contact them to see if I can add their content onto mine so people can follow them.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes.
And also, I want to give you permission. If there's any video off of my YouTube channel that you believe can benefit your audience, just like how you're giving me permission for this talk,
right?
You have my permission for any video you believe that benefits the audience. You could download it from my channel and upload it to yours.
Likewise. So I don't see any more questions right now. Masons coming together is a beautiful alignment, like the stars and the grand design. Absolutely. That's true. That is so true. So we've been on here about 2:23. I appreciate everybody. I just posted your email over here in the chat. It's in both chats, as a matter of fact. So if you want to get in contact with the brother, please reach out to him, show him your support, and I'm looking forward to having him back. And that'll be for a free for all. That's when people be able to just jump in and have a Q&A for you. I think that would be great.
Inshallah, that sounds good for part 2.
Oh, part 2 coming soon. We'll touch bases on that, because you shocked me today. I'm not gonna kiss you. When you reached out to me and we was talking about doing this, and I said, "Well, when you want to do?" You said today. I was like, today? So yeah, definitely. Check the chat. There's a question for you also.
Okay. So my tariqa, so the Sufi tariqa I'm initiated into the Muri, which is in Senegal, West Africa, the tariqa of Sheikh Ahmadou Bamba. I'm initiated into Muridism from Senegal. And inshallah, if I get a chance, I'm going to go to Africa to visit the brothers and sisters over there and take time to learn from them as well. Also, I'm initiated into many of the orders in the Middle East and in Pakistan. So I'm part of the Fatimiyya Sufi Tariqa with Sheikh Wahid Azal. I'm part of the Naqshbandi as well through my family. So I'm with Naqshbandi, I'm with Fatimiyya, I'm with the Murid. So I got a little bit of everything going on.
I see. And that's the importance of understanding societies, not secret societies, but societies, because there's a lot going on. And if you're only going to be and limit yourself here to the States, you're not going to know this stuff. You'll be amazed when you find out. And you'll be like, why nobody never told me? So it's just one of those things.
Indeed. That's why you're taught to be a traveling man. When you listen to Mos Def's song, Yasin Bey, that he's a traveling man, it's got a lot of meaning to that. Meaning anywhere you go, you're always loved, you're always protected, you're never alone, and you're on this continuous journey in your life of getting better each day, getting close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, getting close to your brothers. And that is what this journey is about. Don't be in a rush. Enjoy it slowly and take it all in slowly.
Every time I get ready to go, somebody pop up a little question there. There you go again. If you can see it.
Oh, he says you are good if you're with Amadou Bamba the next Monday.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, Brother Bradford.
The next one, there's another one getting ready to put in the chat here for you. I think he tried to say York Rite Masonry, but go ahead.
Does York Rite Masonry tie? Yeah, that's exactly right. Because whether you're looking at, like, when you become a Master Mason, we're given the two branches. You have the Scottish Rite or the York Rite. Both of them are heavily influenced by Sufi, Islamic, and Moorish science. And even when you go to the Shriners, what do? You take their oath from the Quran and say Assalamu alaikum to each other. And the guy could be a Christian pastor, but that's the truth. When you're going, and even with John Wick, he's crossing the burning sands in the east to try to get to the holy Kaaba and the shrine. What is the shrine? That's the Kaaba. So whether it's the shrine, York Rite, Scottish Rite, heavy Sufi, Islamic, and Moorish.
So it's all there. It's all up in there, no matter how you cut it. So look, I really think that's about it. 227. And I'm good. As I said before. So look, everyone, I appreciate you coming on. Thank you. You're still the host on the Zoom. If you want to stay on Zoom, you're certainly welcome to do so. I'm gonna close out here on the Zoom, on the YouTube channel. You can go back, rewatch it, catch some of the Q&A, and then we're gonna upload this to the to this channel later on. So if you want to stay on Zoom, you're certainly welcome to do so. I'm just gonna log off here on the channel. So look, everyone, please be careful. Have a great day. As always, I look forward to seeing you when I see you. Peace and be well. I'm ending on the YouTube. I'm out. Oh, brother, we leaving now. You just coming on. You 2 hours late. Later.
Is the compound in Philadelphia, is that the only compound in the United States, the one that you have there in Philadelphia? Is there another compound in the States?
Well, if you go around and look at many of the Masonic architecture, you will always see the Sufi and Islamic influences. Whether you're looking at the shrine buildings, the way that they're constructed, they look like masjids. Or even if you look at the grotto, they talk about the veiled prophets. They're given regards to Sufism. So there's a lot of Islamic, Sufi, and Moorish science and symbolism that's in the grotto, the shrine, York Rite, Scottish Rite, even the degrees of the craft. It's all there. And even if you go to the different architectures, I've seen so many buildings, I can't remember what exact state that it was, but whether it was shrine buildings or other buildings, they look like masjids to me. And I'm thinking, is that a mosque or is that a Masonic temple? So that's exactly it. If you go around in various states and jurisdictions, you'll see it. And again,